Doktor?
Okay. All right. Okay, can I start now, Sister Jaria?
Yes, yes, sure, Doktor.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. A very good morning. Here in Malaysia, it is morning, 9 a.m. Um, today I will be delivering the lecture on the discussion, more like a discussion on the emergent and current challenges of contemporary Muslim psychologists. First of all, welcome to all participants to this triple IT short course, Introduction to Human Sciences. Congratulations for you have come to the week 8. All right, week 8 of the session. So first of all, thank you so much for your for your involvement, for your commitment, all right, to continue with these short courses. So I'm Jusmawati Fauzaman from the Department of Psychology, Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman, Kuliah of Islamic Revealed Knowledge and Human Sciences, IIUM. Um, so, this topic, emergent and current challenges of contemporary Muslim psychologists, and we have started this class with regards to the discipline of psychology by introducing an element that has been taken away from the discipline of psychology, which is soul. Right, so we have discussed a couple of things with regards to soul, how it really influences the living, or yeah, the living of a human being. So I hope we can bear in mind that there are still challenges that are faced by Muslim psychologists in order to really be able to deliver information about psychology from the most accurate point of view, right? Okay, so first of all, I just would like to recap, right? I just would like to recap what we have learned so far. I think I presented on the contribution of early Muslim scholars like Ibn Sina and Al-Ghazali on the conception of soul. Right, so we have right of Quranic psychology. With regards to the terminology, people are very much familiar with the terminology, like for example, Islamic psychology. Whatever is the terminology, it is fine to be used, because perhaps the usage of Islamic psychology, for example, may be reflective of certain methodology that they are using, right? I use here the term of Quranic psychology. What I meant here by Quranic psychology is every single thing, all the information that are embedded in the context of ilmun nafs, right? The science of the soul. Science of the soul actually is a direct translation from ilmun nafs, from the Arabic term of ilmun nafs. Um, the word ilm, we use the word translated into the English word slight. There is a slight difference with regards to ilm, the Arabic term of ilm, which is knowledge. Okay, so it seems to be that the ilm is much wider than what is composed by the terminology of knowledge. Right, so if possible, I would love to you
Assalamualaikum. I think her connection was problem. Let me check with her first. Alhamdulillah. Doctor, you hear it? Doctor, you mute yourself. Unmute, please, Doctor. Okay. Sorry. Doctor, are ready?
Okay. All right. I cannot unmute myself. I'm so sorry. I was kicked out of the connection. I am so sorry.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. So can my slide be seen?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Continue.
so what I was telling just now is in terms of the terminology. So regardless of the terminology, whether it is Islamic psychology or it is Quranic psychology, it is they are actually reflective the truth that is embedded with regards to ilmun nafs in the Quran. Okay, so I am just recapping what we have in okay, with regards to Quranic psychology. So we have to understand one particular issue, one particular point, that it has deep roots in the Islamic intellectual tradition, right? So everything with regards to what we are delivering in terms of al-nafs, it has a very deep root in terms of the Islamic intellectual tradition. Okay, and as evident as what being delivered earlier on, early Islamic scholars definitely explored the nature of soul, right? So this nature of soul, if we look into the historical narrative of how the soul has been ousted from the discipline of psychology, so I hope we bear in mind on that loophole that is in existence in the existing body of knowledge or discipline of psychology. So the early Muslim scholars explored the nature of the soul, right? They also explored the nature of cognition. They examine or evaluate about behaviors, and they definitely talk about ethics or the value ladening all the conception of soul as well as the behavior, right? They never push away values, all right, that comes in the form of ethics, all right? So everything in the ilm nafs is definitely heavily laden with value. And these are so we can see in the Islamic Golden Age from the 8th to 14th century, so a lot of early Muslim scholars made significant contribution to psychology. For example, I'm just refreshing, Al-Farabi, he is the one to integrate the Islamic thought with Greek philosophy in understanding soul. So he practically is very much influenced with the Aristotle point of view as well as Neoplatonism. Okay, so he created a hierarchical model of faculties of the soul. All right, faculties of the soul. He theorized on five faculties of the soul: nutritive, external sensation, appetitive, imaginative. I missed one more. Appetitive, imaginative, and last one is the intellect or the rational soul, rational faculty of the soul. All right. So he stresses on the role of intellect in achieving human perfection and understanding the divine. Right. So at all time, even a lot of Quranic verses stress on the point that at the end of the day, whatever it is that we do, our behavior has to be linked to the context of submitting ourselves to the first existence, as used by the term used by Al-Farabi, the first existence, referring to Allah. Right. So at the end of the day, whatever it is that we behave, however that we behave, it has to be aligned with or aligned with to the subscription or submission of ourselves towards God as our creator. Right. So in a way, that is the soul's ultimate purpose. All right. Achieving human perfection and understanding the divine. All right. By the term understanding the divine, it means that we definitely have to fully subscribe ourselves and submit ourselves to the creator, which to Allah. All right. So Al-Farabi's conception of soul somehow linked together metaphysic element and psychology. So this is another part that is missing in the existing discipline of psychology, that metaphysical aspects. All right, we cannot we cannot oust the point or the fact that there are lots of aspects of metaphysicals in a human's life, but that aspects of metaphysical has been ousted away of from the discipline of psychology. All right, so when he bridges the conception of soul, his conception of soul bridge the metaphysical aspects as well as psychology. So that becomes a very great framework to understand the real nature of human being. All right, and from the very beginning in the first lecture, for example, man is being described. I deliver the information that man is being described, or the very nature of man is consisting of two: the material aspects and the immaterial aspects. So the immaterial aspect is what lacking in the in the existing context of psychology. Okay, so that is Al-Farabi. As for Al-Ghazali in his book Ihya Ulumuddin, right, so he offers a comprehensive psychological and ethical framework based on Islam. So the concept of self again is being explored. All right, so the word nafs, sometimes the translated terminology used to represent nafs is self or psyche. All right, so Al-Ghazali mentioned about nafs, qalb, ruh, aqal. All right, and he linked it to the level of purification of the soul, tazkiyatun nafs. Okay, as for Ibn Sina in his book, the Book of Healing and the Canon of Medicine, the understanding of soul has been integrated with the context of philosophy, psychology, as well as Islamic thought. All right, so Ibn Sina identified soul or nafs as a distinct immaterial substance that governs the body while remaining independent of it. All right, so meaning that the soul remains independent of the body, and the soul has the faculty or the power or the energy to govern the whole material body. Okay, in detail, Ibn Sina mentioned about vegetative soul, animal soul, and rational soul. All right, so when it comes to rational soul, it's very unique only to human being. All right, it's unique to human being and capable of attaining the divine knowledge. All right, in here, if we really look into the details of the discussion forwarded by either Al-Farabi, Al-Ghazali, Ibn Sina, and the other early Muslim scholars, most of them describe the soul, its faculty in terms of a hierarchical model. All right, so these are another aspects that may be pondered upon or may be dwelt in by others who are very much interested in it. Okay, so these are With regards to Ibn Sina, for example, he further explored the processes of sensation, all right, the processes of perception, sensation, imagination, as well as reasoning. And he always emphasized the role of soul or the potential of soul for spiritual ascent as well as immortality. So that is the nature or description of soul by Ibn Sina. And then with regards to soul's potential for spiritual ascent. So this is also evident in Al-Farabi, right? Also evident in Al-Farabi, whereby he mentioned about the ascending soul, right? He mentioned about the ascending soul. So this is practically the nature of the soul as being described by three of the early Muslim scholars, right? For those participants who are very much interested, perhaps you can start with Al-Farabi, somehow learn more, because it's very great. You know, the contribution of Al-Farabi is very great. There are lots of books that can be referred to. For example, a translation of his original book of Al-Mabadi Ara Ahlul Madinah Al-Fadila, all right, the virtual city. There is a translation from Arabic into English by Richard Walzer. Right, Richard Walzer, and then that can be referred to a very great book that can help us for those who are unable to read to understand Arabic, to use Arabic. That is a translation from the original source. Okay, so another early Muslim scholars that contribute to the context of soul is Ibn al-Haytham, all right, Ibn al-Haytham. So he practically pioneered the work in optics and vision, but he also contributed to the understanding of the soul, especially because he focused on sensory organs, which is optic and as well as vision. So he also contributed to the understanding of soul, particularly through the exploration of perception and cognition, right? Okay, so we have early Muslim scholars who ventured into these contexts of perception, sensation processes, perception processes, cognitive processes. All right, so soul, according to Ibn Haytham, is intimately linked to the sensory experience and intellect, emphasizing the role of external senses in acquiring knowledge, especially the vision, because he practically focused on optic as well as vision. All right, so he talked about not only of the capability of the external sensory organs, which is the eye, all right, to absorb information and give us vision, but also the vision, the physical vision, somehow is being related to the context of acquiring knowledge. All right, acquiring knowledge. Okay, so at the end of the day, it fits into the conception of all these early Muslim scholars with regards to the context of ascending soul. At all time, we will strive ourselves towards the highest level that we can go, so that we are very, very close to our Creator or Allah. Okay. So this is more in terms of the contribution of Al-Haytham. He distinguished between sensation and perception. He argued on the point that while senses detect the physical stimuli, the rational soul. So we talk about the physical sensory organs, which is the eye. While senses detect physical stimuli, the rational soul processes and interprets this information to form understanding. So that is actually the link that he made between the metaphysical aspects of human souls with the physical aspects of the sensation. Okay, so he laid the groundwork for a scientific approach to studying the interaction between the soul, the body, as well as the external world. Right, so here it bridges the philosophical aspects as well as the empirical inquiry. So when he subscribed himself to the study of external sensory organs somehow, but then he linked it into the context of soul by linking the by stating that the rational soul somehow is practically processing the information, consolidate it so that it becomes, it forms some kind of understanding based on the external sensory information. Okay, so these are just example. Right, so these are just example of the early Muslim scholars' contribution to the psychology, right, to the context of ilm nafs. So there are many early Muslim scholars that contribute similarly to the realm of psychology. So in psychology, we do learn about cognition, we do learn about sensation, perception, right? So there are early Muslim psychologists that also contributed to the same realm. Okay. Okay, so perhaps we can see or we can take a look at the context of existing psychology and sort of like coin or sort of like look into the revival of Quranic psychology in the modern era. All right. So just giving out certain just giving out another alternative perspective. When I say alternative perspective, not to say that Quranic psychology is actually the last is actually it should be actually what I'm trying to say, it should be the perspective being referred to. Okay, so I think this is what's happening as of now. Revival of Quranic psychology in the modern era. Understandably, many of the third world countries being colonized. So with colonialism and the global spread of Western knowledge system. All right. So in psychology, for example, all our textbooks are either from United States of America. So we can say that it is actually depictive of American psychology. All right. American psychology. Bear in mind, this is my standpoint, all right? My sort of my perspective looking into what's happening around. Right, so with colonialism and the global spread of Western knowledge system, no doubt, right, we cannot deter the fact that psychology has been delivered in only one particular perspective, right? The Western paradigm. And it seems to be that the gist of the Western paradigm emphasizes the materialism and empiricism. I'm not saying that we cannot express on materialism or empiricism, but there are certain aspects that we have to sort of like tone down and look into other perspective that perhaps can give us a better or a greater understanding or more comprehensive understanding of who man is. Okay, so the reality is with the fact that the colonialism happened in so many countries and Muslim countries Muslim countries especially, and that the widespread of the Western knowledge system. And at the end of the day, we can say the approach that is being used to deliver psychology, the understanding of human being, is very much Americanized or very much Westernized. So that is the situation that is happening. But then we see this kind of revivalism. The past few decades have seen a revival in Quranic psychology, driven by a desire among Muslim psychologists, perhaps so these are the context, to reclaim Islamic intellectual heritage. So there are lots of work that had been done with regards to looking into the Quran, all right, in terms of understanding human being. Okay, so this is perhaps one of the effort, reclaiming Islamic intellectual heritage. So scholars have revisited early Islamic work to reconstruct psychological principles, psychological frameworks that are aligned with the Islamic principle. That is the most important aspects, right? The most important aspect that has to be taken into consideration, right? That has to be taken into consideration reconstructing psychological framework that align with Islamic principles. And we also can see another journey being taken, rejuvenating soul into the study of psychology. All right, so many Muslim psychologists argue that Western psychology's materialist orientation neglects soul. All right, and we admit to the point that we stand forth upholding the point that it is an essential. Looking into soul, getting to understand soul is an essential dimension of human existence in Islam. And I think it's okay for us to admit, or it's okay actually to regard the Islamic principles as applicable to everyone, because Islam is Quran is being delivered to all mankind. The information in the Quran universally fits all mankind. All right. Okay, so rejuvenating soul into the psychology, and Alhamdulillah, the Department of Psychology in IIUM has taken the steps introducing a course that caters to the early Muslim scholars' contribution to the conception of soul. All right, so we use the terminology of science of the soul. All right, and then it seems to be that more Muslim psychologists are addressing culturally relevant issues, recognizing that the Western models, perhaps with its materialism nature, as well as the fact that it does not deal with the conception of soul, right? It may not fully address the psychological context or needs of the Muslims. So researchers as well as practitioners alike, they are working on developing frameworks, newer frameworks and newer form of interventions that are aligned or that can address the needs of the Muslim cultural context. Okay, so this is what's happening, and I hope this can continue. This effort can be continued because there are so many more to be explored. All right, so many more to be explored. Okay, and then the question of what should be done. All right, what should be done? I just put up this poem from Rumi. The title is Ascending Soul, and the terminology of ascending soul is not a is somewhat a well-known terminology. All right, it's a well-known terminology. It's describing one of the nature of soul, right? And we have the capacity, the soul has the capacity to ascend, right? The ascending soul somehow. So perhaps we can just like read, and later all participants can draft through in this poem somehow and take the gist of it and try to understand why the context of ascending soul has been stated by a couple of early Muslim scholars, for example, a lot of them actually, all right, a lot of them. So Rumi wrote it in this way: I died as mineral and became a plant. I died as plant and rose to animal. I died as animal and I was man. Why should I fear when I was blessed by dying? Yet once more I shall die as man to soar with angels blessed. But even from angelhood I must pass on. All except God doth perish. When I have sacrificed my angel soul, I shall become what no mind ever conceived. Oh, let me not exist, for non-existent, to him we shall return. Right, the word non-existent, when I searched through, right, the word non-existent actually is representing the word fana. Okay, so I hope participants later can delve into this poem and try to understand another context that we should embrace the ascending soul. Okay, now, this is, and I've seen the trend actually. Muslim psychologists should now work too. There are so many things to be done, but this is some of them. All right, the first one is establish Islamic framework for mental health that include the concept of nafs, qalb, ruh, and aqal. All right, so incorporating both cognitive and immaterial dimensions of the self. All right, so at the very beginning, I mentioned to you in the first lecture, each of these faculty, nafs, qalb, ruh, and aqal, they are spiritual in nature, but they also have the power to influence the material running of a human being. Okay, so that is the first one. And the second one, what Muslim psychologists should now work to is develop therapeutic approaches rooted in Islamic spirituality. Is already in existence, the concept of tazkiyatun nafs, all right, purification of the soul. But then it is advisable for us to keep on mentioning or keep on referring to this paradigm, all right, to this paradigm, so that it can be embedded in all of the new paradigm that we develop, or a new interventive module that we develop. Okay, and the fact that perhaps we can go up to the point of tasawwuf, all right, Sufism, right? It has its value, okay, in really understanding who man is. Okay, next, explore the positive Quranic psychology, focusing on virtues like patience, gratitude, and reliance to God. This is another thing. Perhaps I can use a different context or a different terminology encompassing this effort. What I see here is the conceptualization of psychological construct from the Quranic perspective. Right? Sometimes we have to have the guts to be void of all the Western perspective that we have been influenced by or introduced to, all right, and look at Quran from fresh perspective, right? Disregard whatever Piaget say with regards to the cognitive development, all right? Yeah, why not? Because we want to look into what Quran has to offer, right? What Quran has to offer. So the operation or the materialization of conceptualizing psychological construct from the Quranic perspective, all right? Another effort. Yeah, you can run, you can open up certain surah, for example, Surah to Yusuf, Surah Al-Mu'minun, for example, just to understand about man's personality, all right, man's personality. And at the end of the day, perhaps you will find you are able to make comparison, like personality from the Western perspective. There is neutral. Is neutral. If you are a narcissist, therefore you are a narcissist. But from the Islamic perspective, personality seems to have a direction. There is a positive direction, there is a negative direction. So it is advisable for people, for the Muslim, to reduce the negative aspects of their personality and strive more and try to build up a more positive element of personality. That is the direction. So that is just one basic difference with regards to Western perspective on personality, as well as the Islamic point of view on personality. Okay. All right. So establishing Islamic framework for mental health that incorporate the context of nafs, ruh, qalb, and aql. All right. Bridging the material aspects of man and the immaterial aspects of man. Newer therapeutic approaches rooted in Islamic principles, and definitely further exploration in conceptualizing psychological construct from the Islamic Quranic point of view, right? Quranic point of view. Even happiness, actually, we can see the difference in terms of happiness. And I think Dr. Rohaya last class in social psychology defined or deliberate on the conception of happiness from the Islamic point of view. And we can see a stark difference, right, between the conception of happiness, which is very much materialistic in nature from the Western perspective, as opposed to what we have, all right, as opposed to what Islam has to offer, what the Quran has to offer. Okay, so I just want to delve into, I'm left with only 10 minutes. I just want to delve into this one particular major issue. To me, it is a major issue. But before we get into that, current challenges faced by contemporary Muslim psychologists, again, another Rumi saying. Who am I? Just my name, the rest is him. All right? Who am I? Just my name, the rest is him. Okay, that shows that we are nothing except for the name that has been given to us by our parents. The rest of us is actually him. All right? It's a very deep context that I hope all participants can sort of like ponder, contemplate, and try to understand how close we should be to our Creator. Okay, now I can say that the core challenge that is faced by many Muslim psychologists is the methodological challenges. I am quoting what's written by our rector, newly appointed rector, Professor Emeritus Datuk Dr. Osman Bakar. So this is what he wrote with regards to the context of Islamizing psychology or reviving Islamic psychology. This is what he wrote. Modern psychology, however, is still trapped in methodological crisis because of its obsession in emulating the physical science, right? The discipline of knowledge that is being delivered to you now is human sciences, right? So we use the word human and we use the word science. So science here is reflective of the physical science. So embedded even in human sciences are all the methodological that clearly originated from the physical sciences. Okay. In physical sciences, the object of study is different from the object of study in social sciences or human sciences. But like it or not, similar methodology is being used. And logically, there must be loopholes somewhere using methodology that fits the physical sciences, using it to study a human being, right? Using it to study human being. So this is what's stated by our rector, Professor Emeritus Dr. Osman Bakar. Modern psychology, however, is still trapped in a methodological crisis because of its obsession in emulating the physical sciences. Okay, now, so we have to look into the context of what methodology is somehow restricting our full understanding of human being, incorporating both the material and immaterial aspects of human being. All right, so this is the core challenge. We don't have to go anywhere else. So look into the methodology. Okay, now, methodology crisis. So the critique of psychology from an Islamic perspective often revolves around the use of a purely scientific paradigm. Okay, for you to ponder, what else apart from scientific paradigm? Is there any other paradigm that can be used to search for knowledge? Yes. All right. Yes. The answer is yes. Okay. Science is not the only paradigm. Science is not the only paradigm. Science has its own loopholes. All right. It is reductionist in nature, for example. All right. So that's why from the perspective, scientificism, we have positivism, we have phenomenological. Okay, that's why people sometimes shift to embark on qualitative approaches to research rather than just depending upon quantitative approach to research, right? Because of what qualitative approach to research somehow can get into deeper understanding of who man is, for example. Just an example. I'm not saying that it's it in definitive tone. Okay, science. This is actually a claim. This is actually a claim. Science cannot know who man is, only what man does. Why it is as such? Because as of now, scientific paradigm, as we all know, the existence of contemporary psychology based on the scientific paradigm, they do not consider the aspects of soul. All right, do not consider the aspects of soul. So when they do not consider the aspects of soul, so at the end of the day, they cannot know who man is. What they can know is what man does, right? So that's why the definition of psychology at the end of the day becomes the scientific study of mental processes and human behavior, right? Human behavior meaning what man does. Okay, so at the end of the day, the core, the true nature of man that encompass the aspects, the immaterial aspects, cannot be dwelt with. All right, cannot be dwelt with. Okay, so this is further deliberation. I have 4 more minutes. Okay, further deliberation. So science somehow limit the understanding of human nature and the soul as it exclude metaphysical and spiritual dimensions, which are central to the Islamic thought. Okay, it separates knower and known. Okay, I'll give you one diagram after this so that they know. Knower, who are we? We are knower. All right, we are knower. We wanted to get to know about things. We want to get to know about who we are as a human being. Okay, so there is an issue like you can just like write this, Google this subject object separation. So in science, somehow subject object separation. So they are separate. But in Islam, somehow the knower, the knowledge itself is in the knower. All right, the knowledge itself is in the knower. They are together, unification of subject object paradigm. Okay, so here I'll just pass you this. All right, I will delve into the Quranic verse of chapter 3, verse 18. All right, chapter 3, verse 18, to help contextualize this critique. So first of all, I would like to give you this diagram. All right, we are here, the knower. We are here, the knower. What should we do? Get to know, right? We want to know. We want to know. So knower will be involved in the act of knowing, and then he will be known, and this is what is known as knowledge. All right, known as knowledge. Okay, so the issue here is the methodology. All right, methodology. How do we get to know things? We use certain methods in order to extract data, in order to obtain data, and that methodology somehow has a lot of default. All right, has a lot of defect, right? Has a lot of defect. Okay, us depending solely on scientific paradigm is a defect in itself. All right, is a defect in itself because this methodology has their own shortcomings or lackings. Okay, so what does it take for us to become a knower? All right, what does it take for us to become a knower? Okay, this is actually a stage. All right, this is actually a stage. This is the lower stage. From knower, we have to be observer. From observer, we have to be perceiver, gazer, lover, and witness. Chapter 3, verse 18 is talking about being witness. All right, being witness. Okay, let's look into chapter 3, verse 18. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Syahidallahu annahu la ilaha illa huwa wal malaikatu wa ulul ilmi qa'iman bil qist. La ilaha illa huwal azizul hakim. So this is the translation. Allah witnesses that there is no deity except Him, and so do the angels and those of knowledge that He is maintaining creation in justice. There is no deity except Him that exalted in might the wise. Okay, so this verse emphasizes the role of divine knowledge or ilm as the ultimate and absolute truth. How do we get ourselves from knower up to being witness? All right, those elements has to be incorporated in us, then only, all right, what we delivered actually is reflective of those elements that are in us. Okay, it highlights that true knowledge is rooted in acknowledgement of Allah's oneness and His justice. And applying this to psychology, an Islamic perspective suggests that human understanding, including empirical inquiry, must align with divine principles. Using purely empirical methods may neglect the deeper spiritual truth that are central to human existence and psychological being. All right, therefore, a new holistic paradigm should be designed to embody divine wisdom and revelation. All right, so I I can't deliberate more of this. All right, I can't deliberate more of this because I'm short of time, but I would like to encourage all participants to look into and try to further understand the gist of the 318. All right, the gist of the 318. To understand this diagram, all right, to understand this diagram. So just remember, the point that I need you to remember is this: the separation between knower and known, all right? The separation between knower and known. So this is knower, this is known. This separation happens because of what? Methodology, all right? Because of what? Methodology. What we are reverting ourselves to use as of now is the scientific paradigm. All right, scientific paradigm, practically they will be looking into most of the time the material aspects. All right, the material aspects. Soul as a metaphysical entity somehow will not be considered in a sense. Okay, all right. So this is the level that we should ask ourselves, where do we want to be? Right, we should be here. All right, the chapter 3 verse 18, all right, is asking us to be at this particular level. But we should see here: knower, observer, perceiver, gazer, lover, witness. All right, gazer. If you want to know more about gazer, somehow look into this surah whereby the Prophet Musa asked that if he can see Allah, all right? If he can see Allah with the word Nazir, right? With the word Nazir. So that is the level of gazer, all right? And read the ayah so that we can understand the very gist that help us to understand that if we were to deliver certain information, and we have to understand as well, information somehow is also within ourselves. How we understand a concept and how we deliver our understanding towards that concept. My understanding may be different from your understanding. I am delivering the information that I am delivering to you now based on my understanding. All right, based on my understanding, based on the experiences or the information that has been exposed to me. Okay, so that's why I and the information is unified. Then only I can deliver the truest of what I understand towards my audience. All right. You may understand whatever that I give you here in a different point of view. All right. But these are all our struggle. All right. These are all our struggle. Okay. Last point.
Doctor,
Yeah.
we have passed the time and
Okay.
inshallah.
Okay. So that's it. So I'll pass the PowerPoint presentation to Sister Jaria. All right. So that's it. Thank you so much for lending me your ears. All right. I hope whatever that I deliver today can be of certain benefit to all of you. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Exactly, we have the open for Q&A session, but including me, interesting to hear. So we have passed the time. Dr. Baiduri, can we extend for one question for Dr. to answer, maybe?
Or I can just answer. If you want to take Dr. Baiduri's time, I can answer through the chat.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. That's good. Thank you, Dr. Jasmawati, for a wonderful presentation today. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Next, we continue with Dr. Baiduri. Dr. Norbaiduri. Doctor, are you here?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Sorry.
wabarakatuh.
Hold on. I wanted to use the virtual. I thought I have changed the virtual background just now. Sorry. Uh, Hold on, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. First, first and foremost, I would like to apologize. You all can hear me or not?
Yes, 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 sure. We
Okay.
hear
First
you.
and foremost, I would like to apologize to the organizer. I actually have arranged for the virtual background to be, to be for my slides, but somehow it didn't come up. Sorry about that. When I tried just
It's okay.
now, it
It's
was
okay.
there. Yeah, it's okay. So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Can I start?
Yeah, before that, let me introduce a bit. This is the first
Okay.
class for you, okay? That's it.
Yes.
Before that, let we introduce you a bit to the participants who are here in our Zoom now. It's about 103 students.
Okay. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. So before we begin with the Norbaiduri Ruslan lectures, let me introduce a bit with her brief background. Uh, assistant professor. She is assistant professor, graduate from with her bachelor's degree in communication, specializing in public relations from International Islamic University Malaysia. She pursued her MA in communication with specialization in telecommunication management at Western Michigan University, WMU from United States. Her later she's continue her PhD at the Department of Journalist Study, University of Sheffield, UK. Her research interests include intellectual communication, multicultural education, new media effects, audience studies, cultivation studies, and online gaming. She has conducted several workshops and training for professional and academics, include intellectual training for Commonwealth diplomats from the Institute of Diplomacy and Foreign Relations. Muamalat banker on effective communication skills. Hatachi young engineer from Japan on communication skill. And she was a lead consultant for the public server department feasibility study on alternative service delivery ASD for elderly care and drug rehabilitation, and she also served a pengasih Malaysia. With that very wonderful background. With that, we will continue to hear from her regarding the topics that she will deliver it for us regarding the in cultural communication dynamics. With that, falyatafaddal ma'jurah, Dr.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Thank you, Sister Moderator. So can you all see my slides? I've already shared my slide
Yes.
here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you
Okay.
need to
But Dr. can you
enlarge it?
full screen?
Okay, there you go. Now you can see it. Full screen?
Yes, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, already there.
Right. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. A very good morning to everybody who's attending this IIIT certificate on human sciences. I am very honored to be given this opportunity to deliver a topic on intercultural communication dynamic. This is a topic which is very near to my heart, and after all, this is something that all of us have practiced throughout our life in our different capacity as students, as business person, as an academician, so on and so forth. So before I begin, I know that this sharing that I will be showing you is somewhat uh, may not be relevant to my audience for today, but it is good to understand how young children can inform some impression about people of different nationality, of different colors, and so on. So I found this book long time ago when I was in the UK, when I wanted to buy storybooks for my kids, and I think that this is a very good book in showcasing the and celebrating differences that we have around us. Okay, so the topic, the title of the book is All Kinds of People, and you can see that in order for us to teach young children who are still in their impressionable age, it is important to use pictures, colorful pictures, to let them understand the dynamics of intercultural in their playground, in their social environment. So you can see that in this book on cultural diversity, you can see the different children of different color, skin color, different shapes, different interests, and then comparing directly a person, a child with a dark skin and a more fairer complexion, playing together, and all sorts of different physical attributes. Okay, some people have brown hair, flat hair, hair that they like to plait. Some people have short hair. Some people, well, have no hair, isn't it? So basically, I think it's beautiful to be able to showcase to young children about the different activities and the different makeup, the different creation that Allah has created in this world, how they make people into different colors, different body shapes. And on top of that, not just on the biological side or in terms of what they are born with, but people when they grow up, they also do all sorts of activities which will further segregate, further distinguish them from the rest. Yes, some people love to play music. Some people play sports and so on. So this is just example as a mukadimah of my topic today. So at the end of the text, at the end of the storybook, there was this interesting mirror at the back cover, at the inside back cover of the storybook. There's a mirror, and then as the owner of the book, you can look at the mirror and see, well, this is me, and then I am special, but I may be different, but this is who I am. So appreciating oneself, in order for us to know others, it is also important for us to know who we are. Okay. That brings me to this topic on cultural patterns. Okay, we are born in a world where we have been defined differently according to who we are, where we are raised in. So the process of socialization, enculturation, when they take place, they further define our custom and traditions differently from others who may come from distant land. So cultural patterns here is the shared beliefs, values, norms, social behaviors, and artifacts that define a group of people and distinguish them from other groups. And there are many cultural patterns that make up a culture. For example, in terms of their daily rituals. For Muslims, we have our obligatory daily ibadah, which are the 5 daily prayers. But on top of that, we are also performing our what they call sunat prayer, such as tahajjud, the qiyamul layl, and so on and so forth. And there are also other traditions which makes us more unique. So in terms of cultural patterns, this is the summary of what constitute cultural patterns. The first one is beliefs. All right, belief sits at the core of our culture. So I would like to explain about intercultural communication. And prior to that, I would like to explain about two components, which are culture as well as communication. And later, I will somehow combine them together and see how these two are, the main, the mainstream activities in human society. And later, we are going to look at, the manifestation of Islamic values in intercultural communication dynamism. So belief is the fundamental ideas that people hold to be true, which can include religious belief. So for us Muslim, of course, we are basing our belief in the Tawhidic paradigm. Tawhidic paradigm is our the what do you call that, the alpha and the omega of our existence. So the we it begins and ends with Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. So that is our belief. So other cultures may not believe in God. They may be animistic. So the way they perform their daily rituals may be different than us, and we have the tendency to judge them as being not religious or maybe animistic. But even though they are different, there are ways for us to make sure that we don't create any form of animosity towards them, because we respect that this is what they take up as the belief in their society. Okay, for example, the concept of freedom and democracy. Of course, the concept of freedom and democracy vary from culture to culture. All right, the second component of cultural pattern is values. Values is not something that can be easily erased. It's not something that can be easily removed. It's quite deep-seated in one's life. And it's a reflection of the values that the social environment in which we grew up in practice. So it's a deeply held principles that guide behavior and decision making within a culture. So basically, in some culture, they are considered as being collectivistic. In that sense, the collectivistic nature of the culture would dictate other forms of activities such as decision making. In that culture, in a collectivistic culture, decision cannot be, decision cannot be, arrived alone, individually. Rather, it has to be presented in a family setting, or maybe in a situation whereby we also call our elderly to come and to debate about the decision that is about to be made. So valuing family and community in many Asian culture is very important. The next one is norms. Norms is what we practice as the manifestations of our belief and our values. So the norms of the Muslims is to greet whenever we see friends or maybe even strangers, we do greet Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So that is our norms in greeting. And in fact, if we say Assalamualaikum, we give salam, we get the rewards. So it's not just a simple greeting such as hi there, hi dude. In some culture, they may be more relaxed in greeting others, but somehow our form of greeting in giving salam has much more than that. It's much more substantive, and it has far more reaching impact, especially when we are also praying for the well-being of the one that we greet. Yeah. So this is norms is an unwritten rules and expectations for behavior that guide how individuals should act in specific situations. Okay. Then the norms will lead to behaviors. Behaviors is much more empirical, where we can see the manifestation of norms, values, and beliefs in the way we carry ourselves in the society. For example, how do we celebrate success? Okay, maybe some people in some culture, let's say if they have achieved something, for example, in Japanese culture, they would somehow enjoy and celebrate by, by having happy hour, by drinking wine and so on and so forth. So that's their way of celebrating uh, this, success. Celebrating holidays, for example, participating in festivals and everyday interactions like dining etiquette. So these are some of the behaviors. We're going to talk about this further later in my examples later on. Yeah? And finally is the artifacts. Artifacts is what physical objects that that we have in our culture that symbolize our faith. Okay, for example, a dress that you adorn is an example of an artifact. We know how to distinguish people who are, whether they are Indonesian, whether they are from Bangladesh, whether they are Americans. We can see immediately the artifacts that they adorn, um, would reflect their culture. All right, the traditional clothing, for example, the baju kurung, yeah, in our Malay culture. But of course, in Malaysia, we are a potpourri of different cultures. We have three main races here. We have Chinese, Indian, and also Malays. And we do wear each other's, traditional clothing as a manifestation of harmony and manifestation of a unity that is very much admired in our culture. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So let me share with you, if I were to single out a cultural pattern because I am Malaysian, let me share with you our Malaysian cultural patterns. Maybe some of these cultural patterns are also evidence in other cultures other than Malaysian. Yeah? So there are five Malaysian cultural patterns which are hierarchical, family-oriented, religious, collectivistic, and faith-saving. Hierarchical means that we are very much hierarchical influence, meaning that we address people who with certain what do you call that, with certain status, in a society, we address them differently than with our fellow friends. Okay, we address those who are elderly than us with certain title. So this is very much evident in our culture. We don't call our mother hi Aini or something like that. Okay, so we don't call our uh, auntie hi Aisha. So we call them like the first auntie. This is in Malaysian culture. So we call them according to their positions in the hierarchy. Another one is family oriented. Family oriented, as much as possible, we do not want to lose touch with family. That is the caucus of our existence. The basic institution in the society is family. So thereby, family is very sacred. As much as possible, any decisions that we want to make, it should be explained and should be discussed in a family. Family matters. So we cannot somehow dismiss the importance of family when we want to get married. For example, like for example, if my daughter wants to get married, she should not elope to another country and get married, right? Without consulting us. So it is very much revered to be, to somehow discuss and also to embrace the warmth and the important significance of family in our culture. The next one is religious. So we talk about religious because it's Malaysian cultural practice. I'm not just talking about Malays. Of course, Malays, we are professing Islam as our religion, but the Indians and also Chinese, they are also quite religious in our culture. You can see during different festivities, they express their religiosity in different ways. They may decorate their house, they may visit their deity and so on and so forth. If you know that in our campus, we are very nearby to the Batu Cave. You can see, how they practice and how they manifest their religiosity by different rituals. Okay, so religiosity is also another important cultural pattern of Malaysian. The next one is collectivistic, that sense of belongingness. It's not us, it's not individualistic. Everything is collectivistic. One decision may have an adverse effects on other phases of our life. So that's why collectivistic is seen as defining our culture. And it's also very Islamic that we think of ourselves as not being alone, even if like we have neighbors who are hungry, we have to think about them, we have to take care about them, the welfare of others around us. So it's not a very self-centered. We are always thinking about others around us, the significant others, not just limited to our own family, but also radiated to neighbors and maybe, people in the community as well. Okay. And finally, is face saving. And this is shared by many of the Asian cultures. Face saving is the is the importance of saving our face and not embarrass our face in front of others, especially if you want to scold your friend. You do not want to scold them in front of the public because that would somehow affect their dignity, right? Dignity and their, personality. So it's better for us to have an individual talk, heart to heart talk to explain what I'm not satisfied with, and then inshallah there will be a more amicable solution to a conflict that might be erupted should you disclose someone's weaknesses in the public. Okay, what are some of the contributors to cultural diversity? Okay, so there are many. Looking at these pictures, you can see that transportation advancement, nowadays people, has more opportunities to travel. As you know, we have a tagline in Asia. Now everyone can fly. So with cheap costs for you to travel, it opens up more opportunity for you to be able to get exposure, to travel to new land, far away land, and to learn new custom, and to also get a glimpse and taste of new culture, which some of them maybe you like, and maybe some of the cultures, maybe some of those custom and tradition that they have, maybe something that you learned but may not necessarily adopted. So there are factors to cultural diversity. Globalization is one of them. So we are living in a globalized world. It's no longer a small village. In fact, when we talk about the context of IIUM itself, all right, there's a saying that we don't have to travel around the world. The world is traveling to you. And IUM is a good example of how it's just like a little UN, whereby we have a potpourri of culture. And this globalization is actually attributed to a number of developments, for example, in terms of the global economy, and more business transactions are held, involving countries, different nations. When we talk about a global economy, there are certain resources which may not be available in our country, but we need to buy from another nation. So that has been going on since the heyday, so since early on in the early days in the history. Another thing that that contributed to cultural diversity is technology and media. Technology and media, with the proliferation of different social media platforms, and the acceptance, the profound effects of this social media among human society. Now more people are on social media and they are exposed to different resources, okay, thereby bringing in more opportunities for you to get to know other cultures. In those days, in the early days in research, for example, in cultivation study, one of the theories in communication, in cultivation studies, in the absence of a contact with the people that you have a judgment about, you develop certain stereotype. This is because you don't have any contact with that person physical. But nowadays, we can learn just about virtually anybody in the world. Let's say if you are traveling as a business trader, you are traveling to another country, let's say to Zimbabwe, for example, you can easily get information on that or online. Okay, so there is no excuse for you not to be able to acquire knowledge and to equip yourself with the necessary knowledge in order to survive, while you are in a new environment. Okay, so we cannot escape encountering and interacting with people who are different than us. Diversity and plurality uh, are very much defining our society nowadays. And it's important to see that when we talk about diversity and plurality and also intercultural communication, it occurs in different contexts. It could be in the healthcare context, it could be in the educational context. We see children of different origins or different nationality attending schools. Okay, we are being treated nowadays. Medical tourism is also a fertile business, and we see, for example, in our local hospitals like Ampang Putri and Tawakal, they also hosted clients from different parts of the world who come here. So there is an urgency for the hospitals or the healthcare provider to also have personnel who will be able to accommodate to the needs and to the specific needs of the clients. Okay, in healthcare setting, educational setting, of course, in business setting, where we have counterparts from different parts of the world, in negotiating new deals and so on and so forth. All right, so culture basically, to some, is a creative meaning making process, a fabric meaning where humans interpret their experience and guide their actions, a web that people themselves have spun with. Components of culture include the history, identity, beliefs, values, and worldviews. So basically, culture is an embodiment of many aspects, all right, which makes our society becoming more complicated. And it's not just on the facade, on the surface, but we have to also understand the underlying current, the underlying components that make up a culture. So communication, on the other hand, is a shared meaning and understanding using codes, symbols, media to exchange information in a particular cultural context. So the transfer of meaning from the source and sender, this is what defines communication. Of course, that simple example can also be is transcends time, whereby nowadays communication in intercultural context may be mediated by certain media platforms such as Zoom, yeah, for example, yeah. Of course, there are situations whereby we don't have the opportunity to meet face to face, but somehow it is enough for us to use social platforms such as Zoom to have a classroom context, yeah, an educational context that we have now this morning, and enable us to be able to transfer knowledge. Maybe you are not able to get the whole nonverbal cues, yeah, of myself as a speaker, but somehow you are able to listen to my voice. You are able to see the slides that I'm sharing with you. So the important thing is that when we communicate, in order for a communication to be successful, we have to develop that sense of shared meaning. Yes, shared meaning. So, as a Muslim communicator, we have to understand, despite the differences that we may have in terms of language, in terms of our nationality, in terms of our custom, what binds us as Muslim together from all around the world is the unity of Tawheed. So that is what should be the modus operandi. That should be the pillar of which we communicate and deal with people from different cultures. So intercultural communication is defined as a transactional symbolic process involving the attribution of meaning between people from different cultures. So intercultural communication is also, I would say, it is not as easy as it seems, yeah, because intercultural communication, when I say intercultural communication, it is not only confined to the relationship between people of different faiths, different nationality, but also it could be, an intercultural communication within our own society. For example, in Malaysia, the intercultural communication among the different ethnicity that we have here in Malaysia, for example, between Malays and Chinese, or among Chinese, Malay Indians, and also with some of the ethnicity we have in the Borneo. So basically, intercultural communication encompasses a wide range of communication interaction, which may involve even intergender communication. Uh, People say, you have heard this saying that women are from Mars, men are from Venus, or the vice versa, meaning that women and men are from different planets. So that's why it's difficult to find an agreement between them. So that is just an analogy of how complicated even an interaction that we have within our own social environment. Nowadays, we can also include interaction with people who are disabled, an able person and a person with disability. So you have to know what are the do's and the don'ts, what are the issues that may cause friction between this group. Yeah. Okay, let me give you an analogy of an onion. All of us know onion. We have peeled off onion before, but what makes it as a good metaphor to showcase the dynamics of intercultural communication is the concentric circle of the onion, which signify the deep-seated layers and layers of concentric circles that represent different elements and components of the culture. So it indicates how complex the culture may be and how unique the culture may be, and somehow we have to understand that a person maybe we cannot generalize. For example, if you meet someone from Malaysia, you assume that I am, like other Malaysians that you have met. So there are other issues, there are other factors that may somehow shape my persona. For example, I may have been raised in different countries. I may have taken courses in different countries and stayed there for extended years. For example, I pursued my master's in the US, spent there for a few years, and then I pursued my PhD in the UK. So my perspective about life and my um, embodiment of culture may be a bit different than the average Malaysian. So you have to understand the process of acculturation and culturation as well as assimilation that may take place that somehow form, a person persona, a person image. Okay, so basically the onion analogy attends to the inner core cultural activities institutions within culture. Okay, from intercultural perspective, from an Islamic perspective, it emphasizes values rooted in the Quran and Hadith. So we refer to the teachings and practices of Prophet Muhammad. So I'm going to share a number of examples of the principles of intercultural communication dynamics later, advocating for respect, empathy, patience, and justice in cross-cultural exchanges. And these values shape an approach to communication that is not only respectful of diverse viewpoints, but also deeply anchored in principles such as compassion, sincerity, understanding, especially when engaging with individuals of different backgrounds. And we have to understand that Prophet Muhammad is sent to the world for as a mercy to all mankind, regardless of their culture, their creed, their religion. So Prophet Muhammad's life is an embodiment of intercultural dynamics. Prophet Muhammad as a role model, the messenger of God, is an excellent model for those of you who put your hope in God and the last day and remember him often. If you are someone who is conscious about your identity, a Muslim identity, right? For example, I am a Malay person, a Malaysian, but above that is my Islamic identity. As a Muslim, I'm proud to be a Muslim, and I would like to embrace as much possible the teachings, from the Quran as well as Hadith, so that I would lead, a life which is rewarding, and also satisfying from the perspective of my own faith. So these are some of the principles of Islamic intercultural communication. Okay, unity in diversity is the first one, or Tawheed. Tawheed and Ummah. Okay, so recently our rector, Professor Emeritus Dr. Osman Bakar, rector of IUM, in his inaugural speech, he talked about Tawheed epistemology should define our activity as an academician, so we get back. But in fact, Tawhidic paradigm permeates all other activities that we conduct in this world. As a Muslim, I mentioned just now that the alpha and it should be the alpha and omega of our existence in this world. So when we understand that Tawhid is the paradigm from which we carry ourselves and we groom ourselves, then no matter where we work, maybe in a place far from our own, hometown, working with others from different cultures, that should be the pillar of your, uh, interaction with people around you. So that should be the underlying, what you call pillar that defines your existence, that defines your activity. And if you focus just on the Tawhid, the oneness of God, and understand the concept of Ummah, in Ummah, when we talk about Ummah, it's not necessarily limited to the Muslim Ummah. We're talking about whom human, in a larger context. We will be able to lead a life which is full of blessing, and it would be consistent. It will be consistent despite the different, diversity that we are um, the diversity that we are living in. The Quran promotes the idea that diversity is part of divine creation and serve as an opportunity for people to learn from one another. And this is beautifully, observed in Al-Hujurat, verse number 13, O mankind, indeed we have created you from male and female and made you peoples and tribes that you may know one another. So that is the beauty. So we know that this is the natural evolutions and occurrence of human beings, that we are being segregated into different tribes and different makeup, different physical attributes. But what binds us together is that concept of Tawheed. Okay. Can you all still see my slide? Something like just now it was not moving. Okay.
It's more. It's
Okay. All right. The second one, thank you. Thank you for verifying that. Number 2 is adab. Adab or respectful behavior and humility. So adab is very fundamental in Islam. We have to be showing, it's not just pretending, yeah. If it's something that you practice every day and it becomes like the second nature, you don't appear as being someone who is pretentious. So whenever you are seeing somebody who are different, you're pretending, making an impression just to impress that person. So that's not going to be a case. Muslims are encouraged to interact courteously with a focus on respectful language. So being respectful is not just in the behavior and the gestures that we use, but also in the way we choose the words. You have to know the word choice. Try to use the words that would not inflict any pain or hurt your audience. Okay, so the effort that you put in to ensure that whatever words that you put across would not harm, would not hurt the other person's feeling, that is what we call as adab. So it also prevents arrogance and encourage an open-hearted approach in intercultural settings. I know that when we are confronted by people who are different than us, and they may have formed certain preconceived notions about us, and they may be, having some judgment towards us, but somehow, as a Muslim communicator, we should be able to compose ourselves, to make ourselves, to control, our anger. We know that maybe we have been blamed for something, but then we have to be able to defend ourselves by choosing words that may not represent derogatory or vulgar words. So here, in the Quranic verses, Surah 31, verse 18, and do not turn your face away from people in contempt, nor walk in the earth with insolence. Indeed, God does not like every self-deluded boaster. If how comprehensive Islam is, the Islamic values, even the way you walk, the way you carry yourself, is communicated in the Quranic verses, so that you'll be able to form, a character uh, which is not arrogant, which is not self-centered. So hadith in the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, no one with an atom's weight of arrogance in his heart will enter paradise. Imagine an atom weight of arrogance will not enter paradise. This is important for us to try educate our hearts, not to develop any form of self-interest, self-boasting character. Even if we hold, a position in a society, we hold a very high status in a society. So that's also very important for leaders not to be humble. For leaders to be humble is very important, because that is the reflection of your faith towards Allah. Empathy and active listening. So listening is also a very important component in the communication process. So whereby when the context in which the listening takes place is very intercultural, full of cultural diversity, it is important for you to focus your attention, so that you'll be able to listen and to others, to others' feelings, and so that you would not, represent or misunderstood the communication. So here, even Prophet Muhammad said that Prophet Muhammad SAW would give his full attention to those who spoke to him, whether young or old, ensuring that everyone felt respected and heard. Okay, so another thing is to avoid stereotypes and prejudice. In the Quranic verses, Allah said, "O you who have believed, avoid much negative assumption. Indeed, some assumption is sin." This is very, very, very typical in an intercultural encounter, whereby we develop suspicion, we develop negative preconceptions towards the other party, without having even a full knowledge about that person, about their culture. So with fabricated information, you are willing to develop some negative assumption, and this is not correct. Yeah, this is not we encourage as a Muslim. We believe that there is no superiority of an Arab over a non-Arab, okay? Or a non-Arab over an Arab, not a white person over a black person, not a black person over a white person, except by piety and good action. Okay, so basically sabar is also an element that we have to exercise in intercultural communication context. Patience enables one to be able to, sorry about that, I'm in class. Okay, so basically, and consult them in a matter, and when you have decided, then rely upon Allah. So basically, patience or sabar should be guiding our conversation with people who, who are different than us. Another one is justice and fairness. I will share this with you later, but I want to somehow focus on some of these characters of knowledge and openness is also another element. So I'm not sure how many minutes I have. Okay, so basically, Muslims faith and
have
yes.
about 5 minutes that time.
Okay, Muslims.
have,
I'm
5
skipping some of the
minutes.
slides. I'm skipping some of the slides. Okay, Muslims faith and brotherhood. Muslims are brothers in faith. So basically, when we talk about intercultural, so Muslims, if you see in the news, we are not united. We are not united. So even though why we have the Quran, we have the Hadith, but somehow why are we not practicing what the Quran uh, uh, profess, and what Prophet Muhammad practiced in his life? So the issue about Muslim solidarity and unity is quite questionable. So we have to go back to the Tawheed and dig from there, introspect ourselves. What is wrong with us? So basically, all believers are but brothers. Therefore, seek reconciliation between your two brothers and fear Allah, so that you may be blessed with mercy. So basically, when we live in this world, we are also coexisting with the non-Muslims, but then we should not be treating them unkindly. They also deserve love, respect, and be treated kindly, just like any other Muslims. Remember that Prophet came to us to be glad tidings to all of us, and also as a mercy to all mankind. Okay, Prophet's intercultural communication dynamics. So Prophet Muhammad once, in his interaction with the Jews, approached a group of Jews and invited them to Islam. And of course, the calling for da'wah is a main activity of the Prophet, emphasizing that doing so would ensure their safety, and the Jews acknowledged prophets due to his charisma and also humbleness. They embraced Islam. These hadiths highlight the Prophet's direct yet respectful approach in communicating with people of different faiths. Another one is how Prophet mediated a dispute between two people. This is between a Jew and a Muslim. When Jabir's father died, he owed a debt to a Jew, and Jabir requested the Prophet to mediate the dispute. And Prophet visited the Jew and asked him to accept the fruits of Jabir's trees as repayment. Even though initially the Jews refused to take that as the payment, the Prophet's presence and intercession led to a resolution that was beneficial for Jabir. So it is important that we have to understand how prophets play a role as mediator and able to navigate even financial disputes. Okay, another one is that a Prophet's fairness with the Jews of Medina. The Prophet had a Jewish neighbor who was ill. He visited this neighbor and and invited him to embrace Islam. And he embraced Islam. This indicates to highlight the Prophet's compassion and willingness to engage positively with people of different faiths. There are many examples of how a Prophet approached even leaders of different cultures, a different religion, to embrace Islam. Okay, in doing so, of course, first he professed the Tawheed, but called them to embrace Islam, sharing what are the merits, what are the advantages of them to, when they embrace Islam. Okay, Treaty of Hudaybiyah, for example, is a classic example of where Prophet engaged in negotiation with the Quraysh of Mecca. And in this treaty, Prophet showcased patience and diplomacy, and at the end, led to a peaceful resolution. Okay, and even Prophet showed his respect for a Jew who passed away. In the procession of the Jews' funeral, he showed respect. He shared his feelings of his sorrow with the family and community. And then he was asked, why did you stand up for a Jewish funeral? The Prophet replied, is it not a human soul? So basically, regardless of one's background, religion, and nationality, when someone passes away, we have to respect them. Okay. All right. So next one is stories of intercultural. I hope that I can share one. I can share one story at least. I would like to share with you that of all these years, I have been, collecting stories, intercultural encounters, from my workshops that I have conducted, and also from my classes. So I would like to share with you this. I'm going to skip the first one. Story number 2, interreligious encounter. Interreligious encounter. Okay, this interreligious encounter is a story about a Malaysian doctorate student and a Jewish monk, a rabbi, in a 3-hour train journey from Edinburgh to London. So when the rabbi went on board from Newcastle, he sat next to this Muslim guy from Malaysia. So this Muslim guy, when he, came on the train, the Muslim guy said, "Oh, please don't sit next to me, please. Because he has these preconceived notions about Jews, okay, and the sentiments, overwhelmed him. So, and then, he purposely faced away not to, give any opportunity for any communication to take place between them. But it happened so that, the rabbi initiated a conversation. Okay, he initiated a conversation asking where he came from. Okay, so all right, of course, out of respect, he said that, okay, I come from Malaysia. All right, and self-disclosure is very important to sustain a conversation. So here, even though he has a preconceived notion, he tried to calm himself, and he said that he's willing to continue having conversation in this 3 hour train journey. So he said that he asked, uh, uh, the rabbi shared his view. Suddenly, this is interreligious discussion. Yeah? The rabbi shared his view that the Jews never recognized Jesus as the legitimate God of Son of God, because logically, no baby could be born without any sexual intercourse between a man and a woman. You imagine, yeah, having asked such a question in a trip, yeah, from Edinburgh to London. Imagine it's a heavy loaded discussion about religion. So married to them, according to the rabbi, must have had sexual relationship outside the wedlock, which led to the birth of Jesus. So the Malaysian shared Muslims' opinion, yeah, on that issue, and explained that the birth of Jesus was a phenomenon beyond human understanding. It was purely the work of God. And to support his argument, he explained how Adam, as the first man, when he was created, he had no father, he had no mother, yet he came into being and later sent to the earth. The rabbi accepted that argument. So it is important for us to have this respectful, humble relationship or communication to ensure that no friction or no clashes will occur. So the conversation was very informative and led to increased respect of each other. So another question he asked, okay, they talked also about Christmas. Okay, both individuals had agreed on some things in which both of them agreed that Christmas was started by the early Christians and not by Jesus himself. And when the rabbi asked why Muslims prayed on Friday, the Malaysian Muslim answered that according to the hadith, Adam was created on that day, and that day was the day when he was first sent to the paradise and the day when he was sent away from paradise. The rabbi was satisfied with that answer and acknowledged the answer was similar to that what was written in the Torah, the holy Jewish scripture. So this intercultural story is a good example of interfaith discussion in which two individuals from different faiths have discussion about their respective faith. So it is important for us as a Muslim. We would be asked critical questions like this. As you remember, I have been asked by a professor from Korea, and this professor, he's not Muslim, and his specialization is halal research. And then he asked me a question. I observe there are many Muslims who are obese, right? And how can that be? Because in your religion, you are asked to be modest in your food intake. So why is that the case that I see many, Muslims are obese and with big bellies? So isn't that a very critical question? And if you are defensive, you easily will get into anger and rage, having to answer to such comment, to such question. But I think that is very normal for non-Muslims to wonder as to why we are not practicing Muslim. We are not practicing what have been preached towards us. Okay, so that is important for us to equip ourselves with, knowledge on the seerah of the Prophet, on hadith, on Islamic history, so that we will be able to attend to questions, even basic questions about religion, should such encounter happens. Okay. So there's another, do I have more time? Sister Jaria?
Doctor, yeah, I've passed the time already.
Okay. So I have a number of slides. Maybe when I share you later, then you can somehow scroll through and browse through the slide. But basically, I've covered the fundamentals of intercultural communication dynamics by sharing some of the elements from the Islamic perspective, as well as the conventional perspective about intercultural communication dynamics, and also some examples from case study that I have myself developed and shared and documented from my interactions with students and also staff who attended my workshop. So thank you very much for your time. And if there's any question, I would be happy to answer. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Doctor, for your wonderful session. Because we are interesting to hear from you. That's why I'm not interested. But
Thank you very
I
much.
think there is many questions. But because of the time, and we have to have a little bit break, and we will come back with the next session at 11. We have only 15 minutes to break. Normally we have 30 minutes, Doctor, but because
Oh, sorry
that
about that.
we only have 15 minutes to break.
Mm.
But if the student they need to have a question, you can take that time to answer the question, Doctor.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Have a good break.
To ask the doctor. Doctor? Oh, she unmuted.
Yes,
Yeah,
I have
I
shared
thought
with
you
you
did.
the slide. Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you very much, Doctor.
okay.
Okay. To all participants, we have 15 minutes to break. We will come back at 11. Thank you very much. If you have question, you can write in the chat box. If Doctor have time, she will answer to your question or direct question also can. Assalamualaikum, Doktor. Dr. Zacky. Doctor, can you raise up your hand? Doctor, I want to make you become co-host, but I think this is my phone problem. I can't find your name here. Can you raise your hand, Doctor? Oh, okay, I found you.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Doctor. Just now I suggest, but it's not appear. I think this is my phone problem.
Okay.
Okay, Alhamdulillah. And now we continue our second session. To all participants, we will continue our next session with Dr. Zacky Fouz with the topics Muslim minority in perspective. With that, فليتفضل مأجورة Doctor. Start it.
Okay, thank you very much. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ahmadu wa sallallahu Rasul Kareem. Amma ba'd. Thank you, Sister MC. And so we are, I think this is my 7th lecture or 6th. And so this is my final lecture. So hereafter, I think some of my other colleagues will deliberate on different topics to come. And so today, I'm going in perspective, meaning to say I'm trying to deliberate on the issue of Muslim minorities in contemporary political discussions. And so these are the contents of my presentation. Initially, I will try to give a broader perspective about the minority question in modern states, and especially looking the Muslim minority issues and minority issues in general from the minority studies perspective. And then I will move to the to discuss about, shed light on few things about the genesis of Muslim minorities and how Muslim minorities initially originated, evolved, and contemporary trends in terms of making and unmaking Muslim minorities. So then again, I will move in the third part some key facts about Muslim minorities. Try to show that Muslim minorities are a significant player in the global Muslim discourse. So Muslim minorities are no longer the periphery, or Muslim minorities are no longer the marginal players in the Muslim in the discourse of Muslim Ummah. Rather, they are very much dominant and increasingly become dominant. And then I've moved to key challenges of Muslim minorities. Key challenges Muslim minorities face in contemporary context. And finally, I will try to reflect on how we can position Muslim minorities and their issues within the larger discourse of Muslim Ummah, or the relationship between Muslim minorities and the Ummatic discourse. what are the principles and foundational ideas that we need to uphold in terms of approaching the issues and problems of Muslim minorities. These are the broader ideas that I am going to discuss today. And so, minority question in modern states. I like to provide few examples, standard examples to define who are actually minorities and how contemporary international society and scholars of minority studies understand minorities. So I provide here I provided two definitions, one from United Nations, one from another scholar who is working on minority studies. And according to United Nations Commission on Human Rights in 1950 had defined, Human Rights Commission on Human Rights had defined minorities as below. Minorities are only those communities other than the ruling national community. So within a state, there will be a ruling national community, and there will be some other communities, those who are not in the dominant position in terms of political power. So those who don't have a dominant say over the political power are considered to be minorities, can be termed as minorities, who want to have a language, religion, and race different from the language, religion, and race of the national community. So minorities who generally who don't have a power over politics and governance of the country, exclusive power, and also who are different from the national community in terms of religion and race and language. So another important thing that United Nations Commission of Human Rights mentions in its definition is it is essential for being recognized as minorities that they should be in sufficient number, and their constituents should be faithful to the nation which they live. So minorities, according to this definition, minorities are different from national majority, and they don't have power over the political authority. And also, it is important to be recognized minority communities as minorities, because then only those communities can be protected constitutionally under the provisions of minority rights. So this is the definition that human rights organizations try to provide. And Louis Wirth is another important scholar who has been working in minority studies. And he defines minorities as a group of people who, because of physical and cultural characteristics, are singled out from others in the society in which they live for differential and they are being singled out. Why? For differential and unequal treatment, and who therefore regards themselves as objects of collective discrimination. Moreover, minority status carries with it an exclusion from full participation in the life of the society. So here, this definition is also significant. Why? Because this says to be considered as a minority community today in contemporary political discourses, a minority community should have two important characteristics. One, they should have a different, altogether a different cultural and physical characteristics compared to the national majority. This is one. They should be different. Should have a different cultural and language and religious understanding or religious practices. Then again, they should face discrimination and unequal treatment because of their difference. So if a community combine both of these realities, conditions, then they can be given minority status according to the Louis Wirth. So this is a very important and significant definition, because apart from difference, this definition try to highlight discrimination aspect that a minority community faces because of that difference. One minute. Sorry. Okay. Because of that difference. So here you can see two different aspects of minority question. One is difference, another one is discrimination aspect. So it is a reality in contemporary world that in almost all the countries of the world, more than 90% of the countries of the world have minorities. So minority question is a reality, and all governments are struggling with, and also societies are struggling with how to manage the minority question, because minorities are different. They actually follow a different religious, ethnic, and linguistic tradition than the national majority. So usually that difference is being problematized in the phrase of minority question. So mere existence of minorities being framed as a question, as a problem. So why? Because contemporary nation state are built on a important premise that each state belongs to one nation, or each nation have their own for example, each nation should have their own state for their emancipation, and vice versa. Each state should have to be managed by one nation. So one nation theory is the root of contemporary nation state system. So if that is so, then logically it creates a minority problem. So how to deal with communities who are not national majority? They are how to incorporate them into the broader framework of nation state. This conceptual problem created the question of minorities in modern political system. So how modern states and national majorities are trying to tackle minority communities and their problems and issues. Minority studies scholars provided three frameworks analyzing various experiences and countries. They have provided three important mechanisms in terms of navigating the question of minorities under the modern nation state system. One is assimilation. You see, this assimilation mechanism refers to a government policy to force minority groups to merge with the majority's particularistic characteristics by abandoning their own. Meaning to say, one strategy that nation state and modern national majorities follow is to totally dismantle, or at least dismantle the cultural and linguistic basis of the minority and merge them with the culture and characteristics of the majority. So through following this assimilation strategy, in the long run, national majority ensures that there will be no minorities in the country. The minorities in the past will be merged with the majority, so there will be, in the long run, there will be no minorities. So this is one way to ensure the homogeneousness of modern nation states. This is one way to address the minority question in contemporary global system. So you see, in many countries actually followed this strategy. Sometimes it may this policy may push several states to choose genocide to make their countries homogeneous. For example, you see what is happening in Israel, in Palestine problem. Israel considers itself in particular territories to be majority Jewish people and minority Palestinians. How to deal with them? One choice, so how to deal with them, Israel try to follow the assimilationist policy. If it does not work, the second choice is genocide. That's what is happening in Gaza. So you see in some other countries, genocide, governments try to implement assimilation. If it is failed, sometimes it opted for genocide. Totally, physically remove people from the particular place, kill majority of them, minorities. So assimilation is one of the important strategy in terms of dealing with minority question, to assimilate them from the culture of the majority. The second important method is integration, which is a better and a flexible mechanism. Integration, under such mechanism, minorities and majorities come into a sort of a compromise. It's sort of a middle way approach, where minority accepts the status quo of the structural advantages and disadvantages of both the groups being majority and minority, while the majority recognizes and tolerates the minority's right to practice and maintain its cultural rights. So there is a bargaining. Minority says that we will acknowledge the national majority's interest and structural advantage that they get through controlling the state mechanism, state machinery. In return to that acknowledgement, minorities expect from the majority to recognize their cultural rights. So this is the second important way. I think in recent past, most of the countries follow this sort of strategy to address the question of the minorities. The third most democratic way of dealing with the problem is ethno-federalism, where policy offers the highest degree of accommodation to the minorities. It offers the minority groups under a delegative scheme of power sharing, territorial autonomy with self-government rights, where the national majority acknowledge the importance of the minority and give them a particular autonomous political region and power to regulate their life. This solution is mostly being implemented in countries where minorities live in a particular region. And like in my country, Sri Lanka, northern Sri Lanka is totally populated by Hindu ethnic Tamils. And in Canada, Quebec region, where different ethnic communities are living in a particular region. And so you see in Malaysia, in some other countries where minorities are scattered all over the state, all over the country. So this method will not work in that sense. So this ethno-federalism is sort of highest democratic mechanism to deal with minority question. It only works in a region where minorities living or in places where in countries minorities live in a particular region, not scattered everywhere. So these are the main three approaches, standard approaches, mechanisms to deal with minority question. And in reality, some countries partially adopt assimilation. In some aspect, they follow integration. So there are a mix of both in many more countries, considering their specific socio-political realities. But anyhow, overall, these are the key main approaches modern nation state follow in terms of dealing with minorities. And how to define Muslim minority? Sorry. Muslim minority, I just apply that definition that we explored in the first slide here to define Muslim minorities. Muslim minorities are part of population differing because its members are Muslim and are often subject to differential treatment from the national majorities because of their Muslimness. The different Muslim minorities, that different characteristics are to be recognized and people should feel that differentiation, and Muslim minority, to be considered a Muslim minority, should be organized, and they should aware that they are different, and there should be a solidarity among themselves, being Muslim community. So if all these characteristics fit into a community, that can be called Muslim minorities. However, sometimes numerically inferior but politically superior is or not a minority general sense. We don't explore those cases under Muslim minority issues. For example, Mughal India, which is Muslims are minority, Muslims were minority, but they control the political power. But again, as opposed to that, there are some cases where Muslims are numerically superior but politically inferior. The political power of the country is not in their hand. So they are also sometimes studied under Muslim minorities, because when we approach the community from the power center, from the perspective of power, they are considered minority because they don't have a say over the political power. For example, some of the African countries we can bring some example from African countries to fit into this observation. And genesis of Muslim minorities, where Muslim minorities originated. So initially, Muslims became minorities because of religious reasons. For example, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to a few in Makkah, Islam born as a religion of the minority. In Makkah, Prophet Muhammad actually practiced Islam and struggled for Islam, being a minority religion of a minority people. Few accepted Islam. So Islam's initial experience is a minority, is a condition of minority religion. And then again, Muslims who migrated to Ethiopia, Habasha in those period, they formed a second important minority in Muslim history, in Islamic history, in Africa. Then Muhajir were considered being minority in Medina, and even the Muslims were considered in minority in Medina numerically compared to the other non-Muslim communities in early Medina. So you see the minority experience in early Islam is quite a lot. So we can explore those experiences to develop how minorities should navigate and face challenges in a hostile condition. And the second important reason for the formation of minorities, commercial reason and trade reasons. For example, Muslim merchants from Arabia actually came to South India and Southeast Asia and settled there, married the local women and formed families and formed communities. That is how Muslims actually Muslim communities emerged in India, Burma, Java, East Africa, Sri Lanka, in my own country. The Arab traders from Yemen came and married to the local community, from the local communities, and there we see the Muslim minority in Sri Lanka. So commercial and trade is one of the key reasons of the formation of minorities. The third is political. And for example, because of the political change, suddenly overnight, some communities became minorities. For example, Muslim communities became minorities. For example, in Spain, Muslims were dominating, but suddenly the fall of Spain actually created a Muslim minority community in Spain. And like in India, until 1947, Muslims were largely part of wider Islamic world, even in India. But suddenly after 1947 and the emergence of Indian nationalism and Hindu nationalism actually created a Muslim minority in India and also like the Balkan region. So political shift occurred during the colonial and post-colonial context actually helped to form several Muslim minority communities across Asia and Africa and Central and Eastern Europe. And the fourth important reason for the emergence of minorities is a local conversion of local people over the generations. So in Sri Lanka, Muslims were few in the early, few traders married and a tiny community, but gradually Sri Lankan local communities accepted Islam, and Muslims are now 9% of the country. Likewise in India, likewise in other many countries like Philippines and China. So local conversions also very important factor in terms of shaping minority communities. And finally, Muslim minorities actually came into existence because of the migration after the Second World War, and now they are in the second and third generations of European Muslims. Now they migrated from South Asia, Arabia, Africa, Southeast Asia to the European countries. They were Arab descendants, African descendants, but now they are third and fourth. Now they are being considered. They consider themselves as European Muslims. They consider themselves to be a part of European civilization and European heritage, shaping the European society and politics. So why they migrated? For professional, economic, and political reasons. So this created minority communities in entire Europe. This is a new and a very sort of a modern phenomenon. So for these 5 reasons, minority Muslims became minority communities, forming a large network, and a considerable amount of the Muslim Ummah now considered to be Muslim minorities. And so my next slide, I am talking about few things, an important statistics, trying to give you through that, trying to explain. Minority Muslims are no more just Ummah at the margins. Say, they are no more just in the periphery. Rather, Muslim minorities are also part of core of Ummah. We generally categorize the Muslim Ummah into two segments. The core of Ummah. The core of Muslim Ummah is generally the Muslims who are living in Muslim majority countries like Southeast Asia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, and Middle East and North Africa. They are being considered to be the core of the Muslims who are living in those areas, the core of Ummah. And Muslims in India, Sri Lanka, Philippines, China, you name it. Those Muslims are being considered to the Ummah at the margins. They are not important for the larger Ummatic discourse. But I am trying to challenge this conception, saying that Muslim minorities are increasingly becoming key and vital players in terms of shaping global discourses of Muslim Ummah. So, voices coming from the Muslim minority, experiences coming from the Muslim minority, and the reflections from the Muslim minority is very much important to shape an Ummatic discourse. The voices of the Muslim Ummah, Muslim minorities cannot be marginalized being minorities. Rather, they bring different narratives and experiences to shape the Ummatic discourse. So Ummatic discourse, in my view, need to be a balanced one where the Muslim majorities and minorities should equally contribute to form that such a discourse, and there should be a conversation through conferences, through seminars, workshops between experiences of Muslim majorities and experiences of the Muslim minority. So through that experience sharing, mutual reflection, mutual consultation, Muslim Ummatic discourse or larger Ummatic discourse can be formulated and shaped and substantiated through different projects. And so here are a few facts to say that Muslim minorities are significant, are substantial in shaping Muslim experiences, general experiences. For example, in the contemporary world, Muslims over 1.5 billion Muslims over 50 countries are considered as Muslim majorities. For example, here today now, there are 31 Muslim minority communities today with the population of over 1 million. Meaning to say, in 31 countries, Muslim population is more than 1 million. And for example, another fact, India is the largest Muslim population being minorities, estimated just over 230 million, and India expected to overtake Indonesia, the largest Muslim majority country in the world, in 2050. So you can see that it's a rapid growth of Muslim minority population. And France, Germany, and UK and Italy in Europe have larger population than many Muslim majority countries. Albania, Kosovo, two Muslim majority countries in the Europe. You see, in Europe, there are two Muslim majority countries, but the Muslim minority is now becoming more dominant and becoming more popular in terms of quantity and socio-political freedom, becoming more influential and significant in shaping European Muslims and Muslim perspectives. And the oldest Muslim minorities outside Mecca is Ethiopia, the first Muslim minority. So with 36% of the population. In China, you see 28 million Muslims live in China as minority Muslims. Tanzania, 21, Russia, 16 million. Some Muslim minorities outside some Muslim majority countries. For example, India's Muslim population is more than Nigeria, Egypt combined, Ethiopia more than Saudi Arabia, China more than Syria, Russia, and also Russian Muslim population is more than Tunisia. So you see here, many Muslim minority communities, their population is far more bigger in the global discourse. So, for example, the key three countries, India 213 million, China 28 million, Russia 16 million, the largest Muslim minorities in the world. These three makes the core of minorities. If the core of the Ummah is the Muslim majority, margin of the Ummah is Muslim minority. Within the margins, the core is India, China, and Russia. These countries combined, the Muslim minorities, the population is far bigger and larger than many Muslim majority countries. And these three Muslim minority communities are not arrived in India or China and Russia before 300 and 400 years. Rather, the Muslims have been living there for centuries, they ruled India for 700 years. And Russian Muslims also developing their own conception of Islam, Eurasian Islam. So to that extent, they have a deep experience and also legacy and heritage in their own countries. So these are very important factors to be discussed in developing an ummatic discourse. And for example, Africa has 13 Muslim minority communities with 104 million population, Muslim minorities alone, and expected 191 million in 2050, African Muslim minorities alone. So, Euro-America has 9 minority communities, significant minority communities with 29 million. Just established those minorities themselves after 1945. And for example, to give a few statistics about Muslim minorities in Southeast Asia, Singapore 15.6% of the Muslim population in the total population of the country, Thailand 5.4, Philippines 6.4, Cambodia 2.1, and Vietnam just 96,000 Muslims. So Muslim minorities are everywhere in a very significant proportion of each in their country. So they have different experience, they have different struggle to navigate. And so what are the key challenges that they face? Generally, Muslim minority communities face 4 important challenges. One is cultural assimilation. Muslims, since they have a different religion, different sort of belief system, they have a different cultural tradition. So Muslim minorities are mostly face, national majorities try to assimilate them, following the assimilationist tradition to fit them with the majority culture, So because of the one nation theory, in across the world, Muslims facing problem to protect their religion and culture. And the second important issues of integration, mainly the Muslims who have migrated from Muslim majority countries to Muslim minority countries, countries where Muslims live as a minorities. They from their side they bit feel struggling to how to navigate the new environment, new condition, new spaces with diversity, with Western civilizational dominance. So they struggle to integrate with the mainstream culture. So this is an issue looking from within the community, and Islamic scholars and other social scientists also working to address these issues and developing frameworks how Muslims can integrate with the national majority while preserving their identities. And again, the third important issue is economic inequality, mainly Muslim minorities structurally being prevented from and the lack of access to education greatly impact the Muslim minorities in Europe and in many other countries, including the historical Muslim minorities like in India. The fourth challenge that shape everything or is securitization of Islam, Islamophobia. Through this sort of securitization of Islam, considering Islam's and Muslim being security threat, this logic is being used to justify cultural assimilationist policies by the national majority and to exacerbate the issues of integration as Muslims are not loyal to the country and to justify unequal treatment of Muslims. So all these first three important issues that Muslims face are mainly now being justified or being at least normalized by the national majority by projecting Muslims as being security threat. So we need to be carefully monitor the Muslim subjects in order to control them, in order to control the national security. So this is the important fourth challenge that Muslim minorities are facing. And now I am moving to the Muslim minorities and ummatic discourse. So how we can form a Muslim aspects that we can think of. And first is we need to reconceptualize Muslim Ummah as not an identity, rather a submission to God, wasatiyah, and the enjoins good and forbids wrong. Meaning to say, the religious duties that is revealed to us, that is God has commanded to us to deliver in this world, is our identity, not our particular cultural or any regional identities are important when it comes to the ummatic discourse. Rather, ummah is an identity based on religious and it is based on submission to God. This notion has to be stressed and emphasized over and over again, just to make sure that Muslim ummatic identity supersede all the other identities that Muslim communities embrace. By doing so, we cannot reject or marginalize or at least disregard, ignore the fact that Muslim Ummah is in itself is multi-ethnic and also multicultural. Meaning to say, when we talk about Ummah, we cannot just ignore the specific cultural and linguistic and also regional specificities, particulars of Muslim communities has. Indian Muslims are not Malaysian Muslims, and Malaysian Muslims are not same as Sri Lankan Muslims, and African Muslims are not unlike Arab Muslims in Muslims of the Arab. So Muslim community is diverse ethnically, linguistically, and also their approach to religion is different. So this diversity needs to be recognized and accepted, and we cannot simply disregard the importance of those diversities in the name of Ummah. Rather, our success relies or depends upon how we are going to strike the balance between accommodating both the striking a balance between the ummatic discourse and also the diversity that exists within Muslim communities. And again, the third important aspect that we need to focus on is Muslim nationalism versus ummatic aspirations. You see here in many countries, Muslim majority countries, there is an increasing tendency of Muslim nationalism or nationalism in their particular countries, Turkish nationalism and Indian nationalism and Pakistani Muslim nationalism. So these nationalisms sometimes resist sort of ummatic concerns and aspirations. And so it is a challenge that that we need to take into account. So sometimes our each country's national interest sometimes prevents countries from approaching or embracing minorities that they are living beside their borders because of their geopolitical and political and economic interest. So how we are going to navigate this challenge is also one of the important aspects that we need to take into account in terms of making an ummatic discourse which is very sensitive to Muslim minorities. And also, finally, we need to consider another important aspect that Muslims are minorities considered in the current nation-state system. Meaning to say, modern state system is based on that we are talking about Muslim majority and minorities. Rather, we need to take this, for example, if there is no nation-state system, or we move towards post-nation-state system, sometimes majority Muslim minority dynamics can differ. And now we are talking about Muslim minorities and majorities because of this modern nation-state system. So meaning to say, many Muslim majorities previously now being considered minorities because of modern state system. So state system is the one that forces us to approach these two Muslim community, Ummah as majority and minority. But if we think beyond the nation-state system, or move beyond the nation-state system, there wouldn't be any such categories. Muslim Ummah will be one and unified. So these are the concerns that we need to take into account and deliberate further and further. And with that, I conclude my presentation. So if you have any questions, you can ask for last 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor,
Thank you.
for your enlightening presentation. And now we open for Q&A. All the participants, you can raise up your hand or for direct question, or you can write in the chat box. Yeah. Doctor, in the chat box, I don't know this question to you or to the Nurbani.
Yeah, I would like to. I just read the question, and I like to reflect on that few things, because Muslim minorities generally now, you see here. Let's take the issue of Gaza, for example, and many Muslim students and movements in UK, in US, have vocal about the genocide that is going against that is happening against Palestinians in Gaza. So while many Muslim majority countries that you could not even make a voice, make a statement against that, against what is going on here now in Palestine. So while the many Muslim majority countries, minority communities organize themselves and voice for the Palestinians, and try to make solidarity, try to show their solidarity, and try to arrange webinars, seminars. So you know that especially the European Muslim minorities, they are being very much they are in a hostile condition. There have been currently rapid increase in Islamophobia. Despite those challenges, European Muslim communities are becoming more and more I don't say powerful, rather more and more a strong, smart minority in terms of exposing them, in terms of struggling for human justice, social justice, and human rights, and envisioning a future for Muslim community at large. So, especially the Muslims in the US, Muslims in the UK, and Muslim in other minority countries, in European countries, they are playing a vital role in this, even in this contemporary context, in terms of making awareness and campaign and workshop and conferences with regard to the ongoing issues, political issues, even in the Muslim world itself. So the situation is being rapidly changing. So I would say that even in this Palestinian issue, the role of Muslim minorities are very, very much considerable, and we need to recognize that for showing their solidarity with the Palestinians. And okay, with that, I think only one question. With that, I would like to conclude my presentations. Thank you very much, Sister MC Juwaria.
Yeah, Doctor. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Most welcome, Doctor. Inshallah. The next, I'm not saying it. This is the last class, Doctor.
Yeah. In the next week and the hereafter, there will be some of my other colleagues will join, and they will reflect on different ideas, hopefully, inshallah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for your kind sharing with us for the beginning until now, Doctor. Thank you very much. So with that, we continue with other session. Oh, let me check first, Doctor. Assalamualaikum, Dr. Noor Azlan. Are you here? Can you unmute yourself, Doctor?
Okay, I'm here. I'm around. Alhamdulillah.
Inshallah.
Okay.
Good noon, Doctor.
Others can hear me? Inshallah.
Yeah, sure. We hear you. Okay. With that, Doctor, can you test to share the slide?
Okay, hang on. I'll try my best. How to share this? To share the slide. Okay. Share. We can share. Okay. How to share the slide?
You use the desktop.
Share screen, right? All right.
Yeah, share screen.
Desktop. Share screen. Okay. Okay. Can you see now my slide? Inshallah.
Yes, sure. Already seen it. But Doctor, can you take it become big? What do you call full screen?
Full screen. Okay, hang on. Full screen. Full screen.
Full screen in the down one, Doctor.
Other side? Is it this one?
Yes, already. Yes, already see it. Full screen.
Okay. Okay, then. Okay?
Yeah. Yes. But now in the, okay. Most welcome, Doctor, for the online courses. Today it is the first class for you, Doctor.
Okay.
To begin with that, let me introduce a brief biodata from you. Let me start it. Okay, the Associate Professor Dr. Noor Azlan Muhammad Noor is an Associate Professor at the Department of Sociology and Anthropology, Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman Kuliah of Islamic Review Knowledge and Human Science in the International Islamic University, Malaysia. Dr. Noor Azlan specialized in specialized in medical anthropology. He received his PhD in medical anthropology from the University of Kent at Canterbury, United Kingdom. In addition, Dr. Noor Azlan has 2 bachelor's degree in anthropology or sociology and law from the University of Malaya, Malaysia. He received his master in medical anthropology from the University of Malaya, Malaysia. He has written widely on issues relating to social health in diagnosed community and sociological study. He's published a lot of articles, including that online learning in the cultural study in the post-pandemic era, a case of international student experience in Universities Technology Malaysia in 2023. Pattern and factor of integration in the generational social mobility of education, a case study of Malay agricultural community in Ferdaus, Trolak Utara, Perak, Malaysia in 2023. Overcoming learning challenge during the COVID-19 pandemic, traditional knowledge as an educational alternative for the orang asli in 2022. And there's many more publications. With that, we will listen from him today with the topics Emergent and cultural challenges to the contemporary Muslim sociologists and anthropologists. فليتفضل مأجورة دكتور.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
Yes, Doctor.
can you see? Hang on. Can you see my?
Yes,
can
Doctor.
you see me? But
Yes,
on the
sure.
screen, I cannot see. I cannot see my picture. But it's okay. I can see just my slide. Is it okay?
Yes, sure. We
Okay.
can see your presentation and you appear there.
Oh, I did not see mine. I cannot see my face. Okay, it's okay. Okay.
But we can see you.
Sorry?
Yes, we can
You can
see
see me.
you with your slide.
Okay. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And very good morning to all my respected and beloved students and staff or whatever, all my students. Today I'm going to talk about emergence and current challenges to the contemporary Muslim sociologists and anthropologists. Okay, this is the title given to me. Inshallah, I'll try my very best to share a bit of my own share a bit of the knowledge. Okay, next slide. How to move next slide? Okay, all right. Okay, so this is me. I'm from the Department of Sociology and Anthropology, and I'm Azlan. I'm an anthropologist, and my area of specialization medical anthropology and law. Okay, before we move on to the actual presentation, I need to make a quick recap here and about IIM vision and mission. And as you know, IIM vision is IIM aims to become a leading international center of educational excellence, which seeks to restore the dynamic and progressive role of the Muslim Ummah in all branches of knowledge and intellectual discourse. So we aim is to be a center of educational excellence. And our mission is IIIC. We used to say that. That means the integration, Islamization, internationalization, and comprehensive excellence. So we want our students and we want our graduates in particular to be an international key player at the international plane. Okay, that is our mission and IIIC. Then my today's presentation will have this content. Number 1, introduction. Number 2, global integration process. Number 3, Western representation. Number 4, globalization. And number 5, Akhi model. And finally, number 6, conclusion. Okay, so inshallah, we kick off with this first slide. Okay, today, billions of, okay, let me read up for maybe, okay. Today, billions of people take it for granted that they can slip into cyberspace and connect with others regardless of geographic distance, thanks to electronic, fiber optic, and digital telecommunication and technology. So the issue here is we are talking about big number, billions of people take into for granted of the technology. So based on this particular statement, what next? What are the issues that involve in reality? So we have here, let's say, okay. So you can see that we are a global integration process. You look at the whole world, you can see majority of people moving out from their own country, and they go for better opportunities and better life. So you can see, for example, from here you can see China. Chinese from China will move into Canada. They move to the United States. You can see China move to Australia. You have our brothers, sisters from Philippines moving to European countries, to Canada, to Europe, and to the United States. We also have people from India moving to Middle Eastern countries, and you can see migration from African countries moving to America, United States, Canada, mostly European countries. So you can see there is a migration from their country to another country. So in a globalized world, tens of millions of people have moved across international borders for better income earning opportunities. So they include cleaners, laborers, construction workers, workers for tourism industry, as well as doctors, engineers, to list down a few. And not shown here is the international flow of refugees. You can see here that the movement of people you're talking about human moving from one place to another place across the globe. And if that happens, okay, if that happens, what happens next? So you can see a global migration. Migrants, you can see transnationals and refugees. You see migrants, urbanization, and slums. These are two issues involved at the moment. You can see here, and sometimes it can be leads to human trafficking. This is something to do with like refugees. We have world's largest refugee camp. So in the African country of Somalia, extended drought and years of civil war have caused chronic famine and chased huge numbers of people out of the country. This is example lessons to be learned. I mean, being a sociologist, being an anthropologist, we are looking at the global issues. What are the issues involving society, involving human being, welfare of the humans? And then you can also look at the slums. When you have urbanization, when you have migration from different country to another country, you can have slum. For example, here, given here, just a photo here, slum in Manila. Half of the inhabitants of Manila, the capital of the Philippines, live in slums, such as this. This is just examples. Okay, and then what next? What you can see from these particular issues? You can see migration, mobility in geographic space, involving temporary or permanent change in usual place of residence, has always had a significant impact on the world's social geography. So you can see, you can talk about human trafficking issues from underdeveloped countries to the developed countries, and majority of them prefer to go to European countries like Canada, Europe, UK, Australia, United States, New Zealand. Okay, so that means migrants. What do you mean by migrants? Migrants also include transnational people who earn their living in one country while remaining the citizens of another. Let's say they will go to work to another country, but they remain citizens of another. And this creates a kind of, when you have more people in one particular country, one particular state, it creates xenophobia, fear or hatred of strangers or anything foreign. So you can see there will be a conflict of not just emotion, conflict of opportunities between the host country and those coming from another country. So they have a local people having what I call it as fear or hatred against the migrants. But see, most of the migrants who came to that country, normally they are poor and begin their new lives in expanding urban areas. So they have no option. Sometimes they have to leave their country because of war. They have to leave the country sometimes because of genocide. They have to leave the country because sometimes for education, and they are not returned to their own country after completing their education. So there are many reasons for moving out from their own country, from poorest country to a better living country, to a better space, to a better lifestyle, to a better opportunities and better possibilities. And when we have people coming from different countries, moving to European countries as such, Australia or Canada, United States, other parts of the world, you can see the dominant, the locals. You can see we see cultural diversity. That means you have multiculturalism, you have pluralistic society, you have a multi-race society, multiracial or multi-ethnic society, depending which country that you are in. If you are coming to Malaysia, for example, so we have an issue of multi-ethnic society. It can be of a different race, or it can be a different ethnic society. Or if you go to United States or you go to UK, you will have another situation where you are being you're being westernized, or you can say you have your own culture, you have your own belief to be practiced in a different world, and you are not dominant in that particular country. You are not the majority, you are the minorities, as mentioned by Dr. Zacky just now. You are the minorities in a dominant country, in a majority country of European or Western or representation, or Western surrounding. And then the next issue we can talk about is in relation to this issue of migration. We also can talk about globalization, another issue we can talk about. Under this globalization, if I could read here, operating under the banner of globalization, it builds on earlier cultural structures of worldwide trade networks, and it is the successor to a system of colonialism. So globalization is another system of colonialism, and then where you have many European capitalist states rule and exploited foreign nations inhabiting these distant territories. So it's enormously complex and complicated. You have the global media playing around, and it's just an instrument for propaganda and to affecting the public opinion, making decisions and whatsoever, and personal determining and deception for political advantage purpose. So globalization is another urgent issue, and nowadays we are dealing not just with globalization, we are dealing with AI, artificial intelligence. Is another kind of system of colonialism. So you have a different term used in the name of colonialism. As of now, we have globalization as one of the main issues that we are facing. In other words, we are talking about world without border. And let's move to the next slide. You can see what will be the reactions to globalization. From issue of globalization, you can encounter many other issues, social issues or social ills, poverty, hunger, obesity and malnutrition. You talk about global warming, you talk about pollution, you talk about human rights, you talk about ethnic minorities, you talk about indigenous people. So that means being anthropologists or being sociologists, you are you are going to face, to deal with all these issues, social issues or social ills in the community. And it is because, not just because of the structure of the society, but sometimes because of the migration issues you mentioned just now. So that creates more issues of poverty, that creates more issue of hunger. For example, let's say globalization that leads to hunger and malnutrition. We have a group of country or more developed countries taking look after the poor, the poorest country. So you can talk about pollution, and talk about global warming, and also the human rights. And this is just examples to show you hunger, the comparative picture between malnutrition and obesity. To show, I mean, we are living in a world of disparity in terms of economy, in terms of politics, in terms of civilization, in terms of facilities, in terms of opportunities, in terms of knowledge. So you have a very clear disparity in terms of many in various sectors. And so what next? So what will be our grand design, and how to go about, and how this Western representation or Western hegemony take the role in the society, how it happens. So if you look here, I'm going to show you the map from the anthropological point of view. So you see, before we can talk about Western hegemony, before we can talk about Westernization, we need to see how they go about understanding community. Say, for example, let's say anthropologists, they travel around the globe, across the globe, in all parts of the world, to understand people, to understand not just the issues of the identity, not the issues of problem, but they try to understand who they are. For example, let's say you have in anthropological study, we have Bronislaw Malinowski down below here. So he went to somewhere in the Trobriand Island. We have Raymond Firth, for example, study about people in Ethiopia, a primitive community. We have Margaret Mead studying about people in the Samoa, far away from England, far away from the United States, to understand others. And we also have William Henry Skinner study about Maoris in New Zealand. We have Rosado, Philippines, study about Philippines in Longox. We have Barton studying about the Philippines among the Ifugao. We have anthropologists in Japan studying about Ainu people. We have Arthur Kleiman in China. Edmund Leach studying about Hill tribes in Myanmar, before that in Burma. We have Marvin Harris studying about people in India, about the caste system. We have anthropologists about Ricky Brown studying in Andaman Island. We have Clifford Geertz studying about people in Central Java and Bali in Indonesia. We have anthropologists. I mean, talking about how this Western knowledge comes into the community, how they colonize the people under their own ideology. Like Sir Evans Pritchard studying about the people among the Noor in Sudan. We have Mary Douglas studying about Congo, the Lele of the Kasai. We have Marvin Harris in Mozambique, Portis in Ghana, Talensi and Ashanti. We have Marvin Harris again in Ecuador and Brazil. We have Levi Strauss in Brazil. We have Franz Boas in Quaquito. There's Hobo Native Americans. We have Franz Boas, Baffin Island, Inuit. We have L.H. Morgan, Iroquois. We have Capanzano and Ghana in Morocco. So that means from here we can see, as anthropologists, we are traveling. I'm talking about Western anthropologists, American and the British anthropologists. They travel far away from home to study all those people around the globe. And we as a Muslim, I'm talking about Muslim anthropology, what we have done, we should emulate the way the Western anthropologists do their work. So we as a Muslim anthropologist or Muslim sociologist, we need to travel far away too, to understand people, to talk about Islam, to talk about our religion, to talk about our knowledge. We can talk about Islamization and so on. Right? Then from this map, we try to show now. Okay. So what will be our grand design? So we can see the Western anthropologists. They travel far away from home, and they try to study people across the globe in many settings, in many social settings, in many countries. They went as far as in South Pacific Island. So what will be our job here? What will be our duty here as well, call it as anthropologists, as a Muslim sociologist or as a Muslim anthropologist? We need to have a grand design. We need to do how to go about. We need to employ integrated framework to understand social issues. We've been talking about Islamization. We are talking about integration. We are talking about the knowledge between how to merge between Western ideology and Islamic ideology, how to go about. And we are talking about IIIT, which I already mentioned just now, about the mission of IUM to be, we have Islamization, integration, internationalization, and comprehensive excellence. So how to go about? So in this case, I would suggest, okay, for example here, okay, we are suggesting one model. I call it AKHI model. AKHI model, what is AKHI model? So this AKHI model have 5 main principles. Number 1, we need to understand we are the Khalifa. And then number 2, the second principle, anthropological imagination. Under this model, we have anthropological imagination. We took it from the Surah Al-Hujurat verse 13. We are also talk about we have to be his wise children on the earth as a Khalifa. And I took it from the Surah Al-Baqarah verse 30. And number 3, we have also need to satisfy certain ingredients, the Sharia compliance. I took it from Surah Al-Kafirun, verse 1 to 6. And some of the verses from the Quran for noble and righteous deed, Amal Saleh, Surah Al-Imran, Al-Bayyinah, Al-As. And we have also ingredients of spiritual guidance, and we have Ibadah, Surah Al-Fatiha. And this model, I'm proposing this model. This is one of it. Khalifa, Al-Baqarah was 30. وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً قَالُوا أَتَجْعَلُ فِيهَا مَن يُفْسِدُ فِيهَا وَيَسْفِكُ الدِّمَاءَ وَنَحْنُ نُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِكَ وَنُقَدِّسُ لَكَ قَالَ إِنِّي أَعْلَمُ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. So, and when your Lord said to the angels, indeed I will make upon the earth a successive authority, they said, will you place upon it one who causes corruption therein and sheds blood, while we exalt you with praise and declare your protection? Allah says, He said, indeed I know that which you do not. This is so the first thing that we have to bear in mind under this model, we have to be very clear. We must have a clear conscience that we are His Khalifa, His viceroy on earth, and we have to hold the amanah given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the second ingredient which I mentioned just now, anthropological imagination. We have to bear in mind we are not living in our own community. We are not living within our own cocoon. We are living in a society which is not belong to us alone. We have to negotiate our thinking, and we have to be not to say flexible, but to have a clear conscience and awareness that we are living in a society of the other. O mankind, indeed, we have created you from male and female, and made you peoples and tribes that you may know one another. Indeed, the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you. Indeed, Allah is knowing and aware. So that means we are living in a society of people of different ethnic, different races, and then we have people of different religion, different faith, different culture, and all this needs to be, we need to negotiate. It needs to be negotiated. So anthropological imagination means we need to have some kind of anthropological approach in understanding those people in the society. And the third ingredient the third ingredient that I wish to share is about the Sharia compliance. Being a Khalifa, we are not talking about understanding of people in the community of different races, different ethnic groups, and different faith, different religion, different ideology whatsoever. We also need to comply with the certain rules. We've got Sharia compliance. In this case, I would rather prefer Sharia compliance. That means in this case, say, oh, disbelievers, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ وَلَا أَنَا عَابِدٌ مَا عَبَدتُّمْ وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ لَكُمْ دِينُكُمْ وَلِيَ دِينِ. In this case, your religion is your religion, my religion is my religion. So we have freedom of religion. That means religious freedom. So you can have your own faith, I got my own faith, but our duty as a Khalifa, we have to convey the message about Islam to the society. And how to convey? We have to emulate the way anthropologists travel far away from home. They went all different countries in the world. I will show you some of the prominent anthropologists. Went to India, Brazil, America, New Zealand, Japan, and some areas in South Pacific Islands and so on. So we need to go in. We need to travel. We cannot just sit down and talk about Islam. We have to go out and do something about it to deliver the message of Islam. So being a Khalifa, you have to hold this amanah on earth and to deliver the right things about the knowledge itself. And number 4, all these are considered as our noble and righteous deed, our amal salih. Except for those who believe and do righteous deeds. From for them is a reward uninterrupted. So we have to do the practical part. I mean, what I'm trying to say here, being a sociologist or anthropologist, we are facing many issues on that. There are many issues across the globe. Not just about AI, not just about globalization. We are talking about the Western civilization, the Western ideology. We talk about secularization, how to de-secularization, how to talk about Western ideology versus Islamic ideology, how to talk about community engagement from their point of view and community engagement from our point of view. Community engagement is good, but we are on their part. But in our context, in this case, Amal Saleh, we still can go for the community engagement from the Western point of view, but we add on with our intention. It is part of our ibadah. Then of course our commitment and our deeds throughout the program will be rewarded. And this is something that we have to bear in mind. And this is explained in the Al-Himam. And finally, the ingredients, spiritual guidance and help in the ibadah. So we have to think that whatever things that we do, iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. That means it is you we worship and you we ask for help. So that means that is to the straight path. So we always think whatever things that we do, we must have a clear awareness, clear conscience, and you must have a positive intention, in good faith. And we have to put this in good faith in the guise of ibadah. So based on this model, can have this is the simplified version of it. You can see here we are the key players. Here the Khalifa, IKHS8, and we have all the attributes. Asli, we have the anthropological imagination, Sharia compliance, righteous deed, and ibadah. These will be some of the attributes that we have to take note. And that is not enough, but we have to prepare modules of all issues. How we can talk about modules about parenting, modules about good governance, modules about Sharia compliance, rules about economy, transaction, rules about commitment or community commitment, community engagement. So we have to prepare the modules. And these modules, once prepared, and the core business in any community that you wish to improve the community, you have to go to the very basic unit of the community. That is the family. So we have to prepare. We have the family is the core, the core business here, and you're surrounded by SB1, SB2, SB3, SB4. That means here we talk about sector-based. Sector-based means, let's say, SB1 can be law, SB2 can be economy, SB3 can be politics, SB4 can be education. This is just an example. So if you have a module to create a good models for the family and a good module for this sector-based center, that will be implemented for the Ummatic vision. Community here means I'm talking about Ummatic vision. But Ummatic vision does not mean for the Muslims only. You have to bear in mind we are not dealing with the Muslim community, but we have to bear in mind we are dealing with non-Muslim community. What do you mean by Ummatic vision? It covers both the non-Muslim and the Muslim community. This is our duty as a Khalifa. And with all these attributes, asli, inshallah, we are able to prepare the module, and this module should be based on integrated elements to bring in the issue of Islamization, or how to negotiate between the issue of Islamization and Westernization. Not everything from Westernization is not good. There are certain things that we can adopt. There are certain things that we can reject. There are certain things that we can adopt and adapt. So I mean, it's all about how we look at things. Okay? So this model is one of the model that I managed to construct, and hoping that this model can be further useful for our agenda as a Khalifa, and to prepare the modules for Ummatic vision. Okay, so I mean, we can start with the Muslim Society project. What will the project that we should do? Is there a Muslim society? Or the very idea of a homogeneous Muslim society? So in reality, there are many Muslim societies, and that the range of their religions and cultural variations are comprehensible and subject to different socio-political context. In this case, we can start with the Muslim society, and we can look at the variations of practices. Sometimes let's say in Malaysia, being a Muslim country, because we got in our legal perspective in Malaysia, we have we acknowledge Islam is the official religion of the country. So that means in Malaysia, in Malaysian soil, whatever you want to do, it has to be Sharia compliant, because it well stated in our federal constitution, in the law itself, that Islam is the law, is the religion of the federation, of the country. But other religion can be practiced in peace and harmony. Right? So you have your own religion. We also allow religious freedom in the country. So maybe in Malaysia we are the majority, but we need to understand our Muslim community. Maybe we can encounter certain variations in terms of practices and belief. Because in Islam we have different mazhab. It can be Maliki, Hanbali, Hanafi, Shafi'i. A majority in Malaysia we adopt Shafi'i school. Doesn't mean that we forego the other mazhab, but we try to see which is the common to us. But in certain countries like India, maybe in other parts of the world, Muslims are not majority; they are the minorities. So and then in this case, you have a very limited options in terms of your practices. Certain countries will make it difficult for you to practice Islam. Certain countries is a bit flexible. Certain countries a little bit accommodative. So we have to do a study. How to do study for the start at least, Muslim study across the globe, to see any similarities and differences. Sometimes we are very much governed not by the religious practices, but sometimes we are governed by our cultural beliefs, cultural belief and cultural practices. And sometimes we get confused between cultural practices and cultural belief in the context of religion. So we need to go out there to do a practical work and to educate people about the true mission of Islam. So not to be too judgmental. So just like, for example, which I show you the map just now, where anthropologists travel across the globe in many parts of the world. They don't talk about their state, their belief. They just study people and try to understand. And this data or this information will be brought back to their own state, let's say American or British, and they look at all the data, and from there they can plan ahead how to go about to understand or to bring in their ideas into the community. And it is a large religious and cultural area held together by an ideology. So why the main issue in question here, how to translate the Islamic ideological principles to basic processes as comprehensible input. We were wondering, we are Muslim, we have different school of thoughts here, different mazhab, but why we are not united? Why we still talking about the something that bring more disintegration rather than integration? Why do we have arguments about this? Why we have Islamic ideological arguments, conflict among the community? And because of we are not able to translate those in a proper manner, or not, we are unable to translate in the context of bil hikmah. So we see the Muslim societies are not united in certain issues. Okay, for example, let's say we can see now the real situation, what happened in Gaza, what happened to our brothers and sisters in Palestine. Okay, we are not united. So why it happens that way? How to translate so that Muslim society to be together and to be united? Okay, what will be the process? So so in other words, we can start from a small project like Muslim society and using the Akhi model. Okay, and of course, when we talk about Akhi model, we have to create the construct, the ideal type. So we can have Islamization. Here for 01, you have the role of river knowledge. We have 02 down below there. We talk about rationality, role of science, and then 03 there, another section there. You can talk about role of culture. So this Islamization, rationality, and tradition need to be our focus, and how to go about using this our model, which I already suggested. Our process will be when it comes to Islamization, we can use this Akhi model, theoretical framework. When we talk about the role of science, we can talk about fieldwork and data collection and community engagement, and the outcome will be Islamic ethnography, right? Islamic ethnography. And for the conclusion for my presentation today, what is Islamic ethnography? I mean, Islamic categories on others' cultures. I mean, we're trying to understand others using Islamic model, which I mentioned just now, this Akhi model, and we hope that to get those information, and we are able to educate people more if they don't understand Islam and they have a very limited knowledge about Islam. So we can have more something to be shared with the other people across the globe. So being there means we have to be in the community. We have to do fieldwork activity. We must have fieldwork support and post-fieldwork cost support and so on. Okay, so we can talk about Western versus Islamic ethnography as just an alternative. We need Islamic ethnography to examine the actual variations within the Muslim communities. The core ingredient for ethnography as such is the ability for ethnographers to employ fieldwork and the quality of being there. Why? Because if you are there, then we are able to see things better. We cannot understand people from a distance by just looking at the book, looking at the kitab. It won't help. Of course, theoretically, yes. At the very beginning, the philosophical part, the preparation for the knowledge itself, the approach and the instrument used, the method used, and whatever. Yeah, on that particular matter, yes, we can go for it. But by just having roundtable discussion alone is not enough. So we have to make use to apply the knowledge that we have from the kitab. We have to go out there and do our study to understand people around, and at least we can get out from our cocoon and to understand people out there. In other words, in anthropological study, the study to understand the other. Other means people not like you. Okay, so we can say, for the start, we can start about Muslim communities. Along the way, we can study the non-Muslim community. The real challenge could be when we study the non-Muslim community. Non-Muslim community, because we have difficulties in terms of the issue of Sharia compliance. Sharia compliance in many ways, in terms of food, in terms of halal food, in terms of activities, in terms of issues of rituals, which is non-Sharia compliant. So we may not have problems with the Muslim community, but Muslim community will have a different kind of limitations. Not so much about halal food, because it's halal. Halal food will be not a problem. Accommodation will not be a problem. Prayer will not be a problem. The surrounding will not be a problem. But the problem may be certain ideology or misunderstanding of certain knowledge of Islam, and that leads to something needs to be need to be corrected, need to be to be amended within the Sharia component. Okay, and in Surah Al-Ra'd we say that truly God alters not what is in the people until they alter what is in themselves. So you want to change people, okay? This is and when God desires evil for people, there's no repelling it, and apart from Him, they have no protector. So this is one of the verses of the Quran telling that we want to change, we need to change ourselves, right? So we have to do work, we have to do hard work to get things done. I think that's about it for my presentation about the title of given to me on the I'll go back to the title. Sorry. Okay, so that was all about my presentation with regard to the emergent issues, and this is the title. I need to read again the title here. Okay, yeah. So we have emergence and current challenges to the contemporary sociologists and anthropologists. This is our great challenge now. How to educate people and how to do your work within the Sharia. And one of the things that I'm suggesting is to employ the Akhi model as part of the approaches, one of the approaches that we can use to understand people out there, inshallah. Thank you for listening, and anything, I'm sorry for any limitations from my part, inshallah. Thank you very much. Okay, back to you, sister.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Yeah.
And now,
I'm on time, 12:30, yes. Okay.
inshallah, thank you very much. And thank you for your enlightening and wonderful sharing today. So now we have open one or two Q&A, Doctor.
Yeah, okay, yeah, please.
All participants, if you have the question, you can direct a question. If you want to question, you can raise up your hand so that I can unmute for you guys.
Yeah,
or you can write in the chat box. Here, Doctor will answer for you, inshallah.
Inshallah. Okay. So we have 113 participants. I can see from the screen now. Inshallah.
Yeah. Doctor, we have also participants who join from YouTube and Facebook.
Oh.
Because we also not in here because some of the countries they have not stable internet, so they cannot join from Zoom.
Okay. Yeah.
So they can join from the YouTube
So
and
you can ask
Facebook
me,
also.
Yeah, alhamdulillah, thank you. Okay, inshallah, any questions I can, I feel a bit, because these are all these participants are great scholars too. I'm just sharing my humble knowledge that I have, inshallah, so we can share together. Okay, I'm here just to share, to get some ideas about what I have in mind. So alhamdulillah. Okay, yes. Any question?
Brother from Azhari, he said human are command as servants and collapse. What is the appropriate model for developing servants and collapse to find the right concept and way of life as servant and collapse?
Again? I beg your pardon?
In the chat box.
In the chat box, okay.
In the chat box from Brother Azhari.
Oh, let me see, Brother Azhari, okay. From Brother Azhari, okay. Humans are commanded as servants and caliphs what is the appropriate model for developing servants and Khalif to find the right concept and way of life as servants and Khalifa. Okay, that's why thank you for your questions, Brother Azari. Okay, very good questions. That's why I'm suggesting the Akhi model. The Akhi model, you have 5 important ingredients. Number 1, for anything that you want to do, we have to acknowledge ourselves. We were born to be his Khalifa. There is no doubt. Okay, verses Surah Al-Baqarah verse 30. We are being appointed, not just being appointed, we are being appointed to hold the amanah given by Allah. We are the Khalifa. So once we know that we are the Khalifa, anything that we want to do must be in the name of ibadah, to seek pleasure from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not to seek pleasure for me. It's not for promotion. It's not for whatever. So first thing that we have to be in mind, that we are the Khalifa. So we have a great conscience and awareness that we need to do something in the guise of ibadah, not in the guise of whatever, or for worldly prosperity. That is not the mission. Of course, we can get some benefits out of that, but the intention must be very clear. Conscience, we have a clear conscience, ibadah. Then we have to go for the other 4, asri. There's the models which I constructed. Asri, because for me, in the case I'm an anthropologist, so I need to understand that I'm not living in my own cocoon. I'm not being surrounded by the Muslims. We have been surrounded by Muslim and non-Muslim. And the challenges is not about the Muslim. The challenges can be internal, can be external. So we have to bear in mind. So you are dealing with people, and they are of different ethnic groups, different cultural belief, different ethics, and so on. Then number 2 will be Sharia compliant. Even though we are going to do something, we have to fit into our Sharia framework. It has to be Sharia compliance, not do things and forgetting about the Sharia compliance. We believe we get to negotiate our belief. We get to negotiate our plan, our master plan, what we want to do, or the modules, but it has to fit into our Sharia compliance. And number 3, okay, we talk about ibadah. We talk about righteous deeds. Why you want to do this? We get to do ibadah, and we have to do amal saleh. We are not talking about just community engagement per se. Community engagement is a common term that we use. But if you use amal saleh, the thing that you do is to get something rewarding, something in the eyes of Allah, you will be rewarded. That thing has to be stick in our mind. And finally, all things that we do must go back to the concept of ibadah. Okay, we seek from Allah, we seek permission, we seek barakah, we seek whatever protection from Allah SWT. So we have a very clear conscience, no matter in what area. So that is the model that I've suggested, means that will cover you as a Khalifa and the 4 attributes, and you prepare the module for ummatic vision. The modules can be of anything, but the frame is there. We prepare the modules accordingly, and it has to be practical, not too philosophical. Module is just for practical and easy to be implemented. It will be designed in such a way that for ummatic vision, to improve people, the understanding of Islam and whatever. Right? Hopefully, I answered that question to Brother Azhari. Thank you very much. Yeah. Any more, inshallah?
Another one question from Aisha Rashid.
Okay, besides Ibn Khaldun, who are the other foremost Muslim sociology anthropologists? Well, Ibn Khaldun is I would say, of course, we learn sociology, we say Augustus Comte, with the father of sociology, but in reality, we can say in the Muslim society, in the Muslim sociologists, Ibn Khaldun is the father of sociologists. But as far as I know, we don't have we have many great scholars, but not to the level of Ibn Khaldun. Okay, we have many great scholars. So maybe we should learn from the great scholars like Ibn Khaldun or some other Muslim sociologists, and then we can work on that. But I'm sure I cannot name anyone that I can figure out now. I think as far as Muslim sociology anthropologists are concerned, we have great scholars, but not to the level of Ibn Khaldun. Okay, so we should learn how Ibn Khaldun work being a good sociologist and anthropologist. Yeah, all right. Thank you. Okay. Any more? Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sister Aisha Rashid. Thank you very much. Okay. Welcome. Jazakallah. Okay.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
One. All right. Any more? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Ahmad Lubis. Yeah. Yes. Brother Ahmad Lubis, you want to ask something? Okay. Let me see. Okay. Any more? Yeah.
From Ahmad Lubis, want to?
Yeah.
Dr. Ahmad Lubis, want to have a question?
Yeah, Brother Ahmad Lubis.
If you want to have a question, have to raise up your hand. So, okay. Let me unmute him first.
Yeah.
Assalamualaikum.
Yeah.
Dr. Ahmad, you can unmute yourself first.
Can we unmute? Unmute. Yeah. Brother Ahmad Lubis, unmute the mic.
Yeah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Yeah, it's very interesting materials that you present, and that my question is how to make internalization to each one of us to become this kind of mindset for our life, because our education from the beginning to up to the higher level of education, this has I think it's really good if we can really design this into our education system from the primary school up to the higher education school, to become to be internalized in our mindset. Is there any research that you have done, or maybe other finding that you really dealing with to this kind of approach? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Brother Ahmad. Thank you, Brother Ahmad Lubis. As of now, I think we have to acknowledge the fact that we don't have a very clear as of now, we have a separated curriculum. One will go for the madrasah school, the other one will go to the non-madrasah as of now. So that is why the reason why UIA was established. UIA was established to put aside all this kind of curriculum. We go for integrated curriculum. Anybody who come to UIA so far, not at the primary school or secondary school. In a primary school or secondary school, you have to go to these two separate curriculum. But in UIA, we are not planning. We are implementing the idea, particularly about those human science and river knowledge. If you are doing river knowledge, you need to do let's say 60% courses in river knowledge to be ustad, but they need to have 40% of human sciences. And human sciences students 60%, 40% will be the river knowledge. So in a way, we hope that our graduates will be our great ambassador to be to revise in the future how we can improve our curriculum to have an integrated curriculum. We produce, I could say, hundreds of thousands of students from IEM. So since we were established in 1983, so I think as of now UIA, I'm not trying to be whatever, but UIA, we go on that line because we believe the separation of curriculum will end to nowhere. You do sociology, for example. When I'm a sociologist, anthropologist from the University of Malaya. So we study purely anthropology, sociology, and I'll go up. We can say your destination, your final destination is a bit secular, okay? And then you have RK student, ustad, they complete their degree and they go for the non-secular. But in UIA, we merge. That's why you can see many of our ustad and ustazah can speak good English at the same time good Arabic, because that's why sometimes if our ustads giving the ceramah or sermon in English, automatically we know you must be from UIA.
Yeah.
Because they have learned the two schools, the human science, and this is still in practice in IIM. So for Alhamdulillah, we still combine. So at UC level, that's the only that I can say. But at primary, secondary level, no. So far, no. We do have it. This is science. Yeah, also like just almost like UIA, the model. Okay, because our graduates are now in USIM, they become lecturers and so on. So they design the program almost from IIM. Sorry, thank you. Yeah, I hope I answered your question, Brother
Okay,
Malubis.
thank you very
for
much.
your question.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doctor,
All right, thank you.
for your answering the question, all the question, and thank you also for the participant who have questioned. So now we have reached up the end of the session, our session today. Inshallah, with that, we hope all our participants can grab all the knowledge from the beginning until the end of the question. Thank you to our lecturers who have presented to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Maji,
Thank you very much.
for coming. Thank you.
With that,
Assalamualaikum.
with that,
Bye.
we